All right, so consider entering into executive session under the provisions of the Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A. 3, to discuss strategy with respect to, I didn't open this, sorry folks, respect to litigation if an open meeting, I deem that an open meeting may be a detrimental effect to the litigation position of the public body, and I declare that we need to go into executive session.
And that it's regarding to consider filing a breach of contract.
To consider filing a breach of contract. Thank you very much.
Roll call.
Roll call. I have.
Aye.
Christina, aye.
Aye.
Good.
We will adjourn to open. I mean, we
We'll
will
adjourn.
We will return to open.
Return to open session. Sorry, everyone, it will get worse before it gets better. So we're returning to open session. The first item on the agenda is public comment. Is there anyone that would like to offer public comment? All right, that sounds great. Moving on, approval of meeting minutes, January 24th, 2023, regular meeting minutes.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Review, I agree with you too. Review and vote to approve warrants for the period covering March 21st, 2024 through April 3rd, 2024, as listed in the agenda.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Wonderful, look how fast we are. Town Administrator's 2023 Commitment to Excellence Award, presented to, do you want me to do the drum, you want to do the
Yes, drum roll. We'll do-
drum roll? Robert O'Connelly, who I imagine is in the crowd. He's all dressed up. Do you want to come forward?
Yes, so I'm going to stay here. If Bob O'Connell and Chief Sadowski, if you could both come up. I know Representative Jim O'Day has a citation as well. So it is my distinct honor this evening, I'm just trying to get the mic and then I'll come over, to give you Robert Bob O'Connell the 16th Annual 2023 Town Administrator's Commitment to Excellence Award. Bob first joined the town of West Boylston as a firefighter in 1990. Anybody that knows Bob knows that he serves wherever he is able to. He has served on our Historic Commission, our Cable Advisory Committee, the Naming Committee, whatever that was, the FISP Committee as Assistant Emergency Management Director and Assistant Hazardous Waste Coordinator. Anytime that you ask Bob to do anything, he does it without hesitation, with a great sense of pride. The board will recall it was not so long ago that we had an opening for even the Cemetery Commission, and Bob said, hey, I'm going to throw my hat in. He cares deeply about public safety above and beyond anything else, in my opinion, and that is evident through his commitment to ensuring that we have a safe community for our residents and our business. So I know the chief is going to want to explain why he nominated him, and the representatives want to give a citation, but I would like to first present to you the 2023 commitment to excellence. All right, Chief.
You got to talk into a mic so everyone else on here can hear you. We make it
Slide
awkward.
this over. So thank you for having us here tonight. Certainly, Deputy, thank you for all you do for the town and especially for the fire department. I came here about a year and a half ago, so the deputy was integral in getting me oriented to the town and the community. There is so much institutional knowledge that goes along with being a firefighter and being a fire chief in any city or town, but especially so in a small town where everybody kind of knows everybody, and there's a lot of little quirks and intricacies to the community. And Bob being here as a lifelong resident, as a multi-decade member of the fire department, and being involved in so many other things, is exactly that person that you need to kind of show you the way around town. And he has done just that. And so in addition to all the hats that Jen was so eloquent in explaining that Bob has worn on different committees around town, just within the fire department itself. Bob serves as the deputy fire chief, the assistant emergency management director, an EMT on the ambulance. He helps with maintenance, he helps with record keeping and ambulance billing, plan review, inspections, you name it, he's involved with it, training. So there's just so many hats that he wears, you know, in and amongst the fire department on top of what he does for the town, that it was a no-brainer for me to think that this was the person for this honor. So thank you, and Deputy, thank you for all you do for us.
Thank you. Good evening, Deputy, and thank you so much for inviting me here this evening. It's always a great pleasure for me, as someone who lives here in town, to be able to come and, you know, give a Commitment to Excellence Award to our folks who represent the town of so many different factions here. But, you know, commitment to excellence, that says to me that you show up all the time, Deputy, and listening to what folks have had to say, that makes it right in my mind that, you know, a certificate recognizing all of the good work that you do. Certainly, we are incredibly fortunate here in the town of West Boylston to have such a wonderful fire department, right? All the folks that work here on the fire department do terrific work, but I think also that is absolutely a reflection of your leadership for the rest of the crew that you work with on a daily basis. So it really is an honor for me to be able to come here and bring you wishes from the Commonwealth of Massachusetts House of Representatives. Officers, sincerest congratulations to Deputy Robert O'Connell in recognition of your Commitment to Excellence Award and your continued devotion to the West Boylston Fire Department, and I would dare say to the town and the town people of West Boylston. The entire membership extends its very best wishes and expresses the hope for your future good fortune and continued success in all of your endeavors. Signed by the Speaker of the House, Ron Mariano, and State Representative Jim O'Day. My pleasure to present this.
We could have his family come up and take a photo with Bob and the select board as well. I think that would be great.
Bob, we're gonna take lots of photos of you today, okay? It won't be awkward.
With a face like this, it's all.
I mean, you dressed up. Why not? I put a coat on for you. Yeah, you gotta put it. Jamie's homeless. We have alternates, all right?
I think they're going to, yeah.
I know, you can see it in front of you. Yeah. I was like, make weird faces, that would be the good one.
Okay, hands up, silly faces.
Bob, we have some seats on boards that are not full, okay? We have a few vacancies you can fill. Any one of you, don't feel.
Take the seat.
They took my seat too. Okay, sounds good.
I'll send these to you too.
I'm with you. All right,
Yes,
I'll talk to you.
downstairs.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye, thank you.
Good luck, brother.
Should have put it
I know, I got excited, I thought other people were staying for us, but it
put it
wasn't
for
us.
the last.
I mean, no, what
what
was
you
it
thought that was
making
about?
them stay? All right, so the next item, just looking at our audience. Do I want to mess up the agenda? I like to do that during meetings. I
No,
don't
I think we
want
can go in order tonight.
Let's go orderly.
to. Let's go.
So far, we're doing okay.
Listen, this is the only thing I control. All right, so the update from Harmony of Mass Incorporated on their business at 111 and 113 Shrewsbury Street. 111 to 113, oh, because it's different.
Kind of on Harvard.
Okay.
The corner of Harvard.
And Madam Chair, while they're getting settled through you, so I had previously reported to the select board that it was my belief that Harmony had closed its operations, and I
color.
had done some inquiries to the Cannabis Control Commission.
Okay.
And I realized recently through a phone call that that was not the case.
Okay.
So they have asked to come before the board this evening, update on what has been going on with them as a business for the past year or so, little year plus, and where they're planning on taking their business. So if you could just state your full names for the record for us as well. Thank
Rich
you.
Reno.
Manmeet Singh.
Chris Vianello.
Okay, good. All right, hi, I'm Rich Reno from Days Cannabis. I'm here to speak on behalf of Harmony in just to kind of give you a little bit of feedback and update of what's been going on with them, and then with everybody's support, hopefully we get a renewal on the host community agreement. So in short, Manmeet is one of the two main investors in Harmony of Massachusetts, Harmony of Mass. They purchased it. Harmony of Mass was, I think, entered into a host community agreement in 2019 with West Boylston. And in 2022, two other, what was supposed to be owner-operators, came to Manmeet and his partner, Param, to invest in the dispensary, to purchase the dispensary, which they did in 2022 for roughly $4 million. During that time, those two owner-operators then took control of it, opened it up, and roughly about 6 months later, they sort of disappeared. They went off on their own journey. They were cultivators in New York. They ended up getting licensed in New York, and they just kind of went on their own. Then leaving Param and Manmeet to, at that point, take over the operation. Which they never really had any intentions in doing. They never really wanted to be owner-operators. They just wanted to be passive investors. They had a manager at the time who was doing his best to take control of the operation, but shortly after about 6 months or so, Manmeet and Param decided that it wasn't working out and that they needed to change directions. So at that point, they kind of pumped the brakes on the operation to reassess everything that was going on. And along the way, we were introduced to both of them and explained to them that we would love to kind of take control over it and run it and rebrand it and revitalize it as a Dazed dispensary. So that's kind of where we come in, and we'll kind of talk about the revitalization plan here in the presentation. Talk about the mission statement here. Our goal is obviously to deliver the best quality cannabis and products available in the market today. And I'll make this brief. I know that it's already been a long night. Our executive team of Dazed is myself, Chris, who's here fresh off the airplane on a delay, our other partner, Keyshawn, who is away on business this week. But the three of us are co-founders of the Dazed brand. We're now at 3 stores, and we've been operating. Our first store was in Holyoke, then we went to Manhattan, New York City, 3rd store in Munson, Massachusetts, and now hopefully this will be our 4th store as well. We have a full-time compliance officer who's our attorney, Greg DiPaolo. Greg has been with us from the beginning. He is fully competent and capable of, taking care of all the regulations, the 160 or 70 pages, which are the regulations, handling all of our day-to-days when it comes to employee onboarding and badging and things like that. We also have a pretty good support team. We have a CFO, Angelita Cole, who's been with us for just about a year. We have a public relations manager, Jess Penzari, and we also have a legal consultant from Prince LaBelle Thai, who's Dan Glissman, who's been with us from the beginning as well, from about 2018. Talk about a little bit of our track record. We started in 2018 in Uxbridge, Massachusetts. We were granted 3 licenses in that town, and then approached by another operator from a different state that wanted to really be in the cultivation side of things. So we decided to sell those 3 licenses, and rather incur further debt and things like that. Cultivation gets very expensive, if anybody knows. We ended up taking that money and rolling it into our Holyoke store, which is currently open. We opened that in 2021. That's our first Days location. Since we opened that store, we've done about 225,000 transactions. It's a great fun place if anyone's ever been there. From there, last year in April of 2023, we were awarded a license in Manhattan, New York City, at the Union Square location. That is considered to be the flagship location in all of New York. That store's doing incredibly well, as you can imagine. And then just this past January, we opened up our third store in Munson, Massachusetts. And that store is at the Old Magic Lantern in Munson. We're also in the process of adding some additional locations to our brand. Some things that are currently in development is obviously this West Boylston location. We have a store in upstate New York in Ulster, a second location in Manhattan, and then a manufacturing location next to our retail store in Munson. We continue to have brand partnerships. We've successfully launched 5 cannabis product lines with local community entrepreneurs or other influencers as well. Our commitment to diversity, I think, is, stellar at the very least. We are a veteran-owned and Black-owned business. Of our 3 stores, we have 64 employees. Those numbers 16, 30, and 18 indicate how many employees are at each store, and we are 100% diverse. And on top of being diverse, as you can see there, our managers, I think we're 93% female managers. 13 out of 14 managers are female as well. So we're very good in the diversity category, and also from promoting from within. Obviously, we understand the importance of diversity and everything that comes along with that as well. Charitable history and community. Dazed has created over 100 jobs since opening our store in Holyoke in 2021. We've hired countless local professionals. That's really big for us, is to actually embed ourselves in the community, hire those local professionals from the community, whether it's a contractor or, a marketing team or something along those lines. And like I said, we created 5 cannabis brands for local entrepreneurs that are all from the communities as well. So that's something else that we really try to focus on as well. Proof of work. Not that we're going to do too much to the Harmony store other than a rebrand, but we do kind of want to show you a little bit about, what we've done in the past. If you look at our Holyoke store 21, it was in the industrial area of Holyoke. It was a dilapidated building. The roof was open to basically raining inside. There was birds inside. It was in terrible shape. And then you can obviously see what we've done with it since then. It's been a great journey in Holyoke, being our flagship store, and we're really proud of the work we've done there as well. And then if you look at our Union Square location, what it looked like previously, we actually opened as a pop-up in April of 2023 for about 75 days. That unit was vacant for about 4 years, before COVID even. I think it was Dylan's Candy Shop at that time. It's on the ground floor level of the Decker building, which is Andy Warhol's art studio, and they also have residents in that building as well. And then you can clearly see what we've done there. It's now considered the flagship location for all New York licensed dispensaries. And many times throughout the month, we get calls from the state asking if they can bring people to walk through our dispensary so that they can show what they believe future stores should look like. And then our store in Munson, that was the Old Magic Lantern. It was a strip club. And at that time, the town kind of wanted out with the old and in with the new. We got wind that they were interested in cannabis and that they didn't want that location any longer. So we contacted the business owners of the previous location, made an agreement with them to essentially buy them out and then open up a dispensary. And since we opened on January 16th, we've had incredible feedback from the community and all of our customers. So it's been going on really good there as well. Obviously made tremendous improvements to the building. I see the smile, that means you saw the pole was kept there, most likely.
I thought it was funny.
So, that was a request of the town, by the way, so they were really, that was there since 1969, and that was like a big part of their community, so. The town manager asked if we could, keep a little bit of the historical portion of it there, if you will. So we agreed, and so she really likes it. So that's the proof of work in Munson. Obviously, the security, all state-of-the-art security. Everything will be updated, brand new, checked monthly, checked quarterly, and inspections on it very often. And if I'm going too fast, I just feel like you guys have seen these a million times, so it's just kind of like, how many more can you look
I
at?
have a question.
Yeah,
So you're not gonna change much to this building, so it looks like they did a full renovation.
that
and it
building's
just never
beautiful, yeah.
opened.
Brand new. Yeah.
Are you installing security in there, or is it already, it looks
It's-
like it had everything, but,
Yeah, so the building is obviously in great shape. It's
Yeah.
brand new for the most part, or certainly not as used as much as they would have liked. The security's already there. We've already re-engaged, hopefully if this all goes well, we've already re-engaged with the security company. And they're hoping to meet us out there next week to just kind of go through everything, have an inspection, and make sure that everything is up and running properly
okay.
with the security, yeah. But as far as like what we're planning on doing to the building, obviously, we're gonna rebrand it Days, take the old signs down, put the new signs up, do some aesthetics, turn it into a day store on the inside, with our colors and things like that, upgrade the sound system, and just kind of breathe new life into it, One thing's for certain is that what we find in this business is that in order to be successful, you have to be an owner-operator. I don't think that you can just hire somebody and expect that your store is going to do well. You can't do that with mostly any business. So the fact that, back in the day, people thought that you'd open up a dispensary and just start printing cash, a lot of people found that to not be true. So for us to come in there, we have a really good reputation in the state of Massachusetts. We have a really well-known brand. We're only getting bigger, and it's something for people to get excited about. We really like that location. We're excited about a suburban location where we think we can expand our brand and our brand recognition in that particular space.
I'll give you, sorry. So I know you said fresh off a flight.
Yeah.
Are your management staff's going to be here running this
Oh, yeah,
facility
yeah.
day to day?
Yeah, so we take a very serious approach when it comes to training our manager, training our employees, and standard operating procedures and things like that. We're in the stores literally every day. I work 7 days a week. My partner, Chris, Keyshawn, our other partner, we're all hands-on in the game, at the stores, talking to the staff. We have a general manager in Massachusetts that will be the general manager for this store already. We have a retail manager that is currently at our store in Munson that will be moving to the West Boylston location, assuming that all goes well. So she's gonna move right over. So right away, we're gonna have a retail manager who's been working with us for 2 years. She'll be overseen by the general manager who's been with us for 3 years, and she'll be overseen by myself and Chris and Key. So everything's good as far as that's concerned. And there'll probably be a couple employees that wanna come over as well.
Mark?
I have 4 questions.
Yeah.
One is, you mentioned you're interested in local, you're just keeping things local as much as you can.
Yeah.
Did you know there's a dispensary, or a manufacturing facility, whatever, quarter mile down the road?
We have a good relationship with them.
With them, okay.
Yeah.
So that you're just gonna be retail, basically, you're gonna buy from others?
We're only gonna be retail at this
Okay.
location, yes.
Okay, good. And that would be great if you could use them. I don't know how you transport or.
Yeah,
how
we
you
already
work
use
with
them. Andrew is
Oh, yeah.
the owner of that business. Chris has actually a really good, that's Fathom.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
know.
Chris has a
Mark's
good.
internal marketing, he wants you to buy
I
local.
don't know, I mean, if you do local,
You work with them?
You need to buy local,
Oh,
okay? That was
I
good
don't know. I
though.
have no affiliation with any of it.
yeah.
Next question is about the building parking. When that was first built, they were affiliated with the giant parking lot next door because they were one of the first, top 10 or something like that in the state. We didn't know what was going to happen with parking
Yeah.
and buses and the train loads of people and everything. But it seems to be working out, but they just certainly didn't open up to any sort of full-scale business.
Right.
Have you had discussions with the guys next door, or do you have control over your appointments so that you can keep your parking under control? Just
I personally haven't had any discussions. I think it's a auto body or tire shop or.
Well, there's the race
custom
car and then the other guy
race
next
car.
door with
Yeah,
the.
I personally haven't had any conversations with
Okay.
them about parking or anything like that.
Just, I mean, I'm just concerned about spillover parking, because they don't really have that much parking. But if you think that's enough parking, that's fine with me too.
Yeah, I mean, I've been there 3 times. I haven't seen any parking, any cars in the parking lot.
Well,
You're
but
saying
they
that
don't do anything.
share, everyone
We thought
shares
they
the
were
parking
closed.
lot?
You know, what?
Everyone shares the parking lot?
No, they have their own parking lot, but it's not very big.
Oh.
Then the other guys have a parking lot, and then the other place has a parking lot, but they're not, it's not all one, it's not all yours, it's not
Okay.
all theirs, you know?
Yeah. No, right now, the store is temporarily closed. We're hoping to reopen.
Yeah,
it.
when we were first doing this with them in the first place, parking and business, like, if the place is gonna be swamped.
Yeah.
You know,
a
I mean,
different
do you have a
area.
way to, your Manhattan office is probably, it looks like you have twice as many employees, but your other ones, do you sort of keep that under control and don't really have a traffic problem?
We have, our Munson store has a parking lot that is probably comparable in size, to be honest with you.
And it's not overrun, I mean,
It's not a big deal. I mean,
Alright.
again, the employees will take up 5 spaces, 6 spaces, depending on what kind of shift it is, and then the customers will take up, 3 to 5, 3 to 6.
Okay, so it's, okay, good.
At a time, it's,
And at those other stores, you were talking about security, have you had any more, have you ever had any security issues?
we've had 0 security issues. We're in Holyoke, which is ranked, I think, last, or maybe first, I should say, or second in crime, in terms of crime. We've had 0 issues in
Okay.
Holyoke.
All right.
We've had 0 issues in Munson. Had a couple minor issues in New York City, but the cops don't come anyway when you call them, so it doesn't matter.
Okay.
Pretty interesting, but,
They always come here.
yeah, well, they come to our other stores too, but they don't come in New York if you call them, so.
All right, you have one more left, I was
I
counting.
don't
your
remember
questions.
I don't remember what I was writing, because I can't read it, so
All right,
I guess I'm done.
Then, Jen, you're up next.
It was important, though.
I do, thank
It
you.
was count, question mark.
In an ideal world, if all goes well, what would be your target date to reopen to the public?
So if all goes well, so that is a great question. So where Harmony currently sits is in a renewal process with the CCC. In order to complete that renewal process, we have to get the host community agreement completed. So the day we get that host community agreement completed and the renewal submitted, I think we could be open within 30 days from receiving that letter. Because we still have to do a little massaging on the CCC. We've been greatly involved in this over the last couple of months. We've had some tax things we cleared up today. Mimi came here personally, delivered the check to the tax office, so everything's been cleared up as far as any back issues were concerned. Again, all these issues were things that they had no idea what was going on. They came in with a substantial amount of money. They thought they had 2 partners that were going to run the business. Those 2 partners went on to move to do something else. And these guys were kind of left with a manager who, again, did the best he could do, but everything was just kind of falling apart one leaf at a time a little bit. And, so we're just here to pick up the pieces. They're fully supportive of this and with the rebrand and just trying to get everything back on track. Obviously, they have a lot of money out. They want this to be successful. For us, we're a growing brand. We have to have this. I can't have a Days store closed. I can't have my 4th store closed. We're trying to get multiple stores going. So for us, we're all in. They're all in. I think it's a great team to move forward with this plan.
Mark-
And it's
Mark
really an
remembered his
unfortunate
question.
story.
I remember my question.
Yeah.
All right, and it actually starts with a question. I think back when they were first starting, you were talking about your brand, but you couldn't, I
Yeah.
think back before, you could only have like 3 stores.
Yeah.
Like the CCC would not license one entity for more. Has
Right.
that changed, or are you gonna,
No,
how are you gonna
that-
do your brand?
Well, you can't own more than 10% of 3 stores in the state of Massachusetts.
Right, no, but this will be your 3rd store in Massachusetts.
Correct.
So what do you, I mean, how are you, is this it for your branding in the state, or are you gonna?
This is it as long as we don't own 10% of a 4th store. If I own 5%
So
of
you
a
might-
4th store, in
you think you could-
theory, without getting like all crazy, you could open up a 4th store.
With like
You own
just your
5%.
brand on it, and they do
You
their
could
own
flag
thing?
it Dazed,
Yeah, okay. I just don't want, I don't want you to, I guess what I'm concerned about for the town is that you get this all up and going.
Right.
You say, well, it doesn't make enough money, and I can't have a 4th store,
right.
so I'm
Well, I
getting rid of
think
it, I'm going out
I
to,
think that's kind of what
Boston.
happened last time. I think
Yeah.
he was in a situation,
well, I don't want to have it again.
yeah.
Go ahead.
But
So question for the town admin. Okay. Is this going to be a new one or we are transferring it?
Well, I actually have that same question as well. Is this a complete?
That's my question.
I didn't know
Ownership
much
change.
before they came in. I had some conversations with their attorney prior to them coming. But, so this is the first, I'm actually hearing about Dazed as well. So is it a transfer from Harmony, or are you acquiring Harmony, or is this?
No, there will be no license transfer or anything like that. Harmony's, we're just gonna do a DBA, it's gonna be Harmony at Mass, DBA Dazed for this particular store.
Okay. And,
What does that mean?
Doing business as Dazed, it's
So
kind
it'll
of,
stay as Harmony, but doing
Stay as
business
a-
as Days for their marketing.
so not an asset sale from, okay. And the existing HCA is still in place.
okay, I don't
So
remember.
just-
Oh, yeah, I'm going by
okay.
the lawyer, I thought it was expired.
No, so
Okay.
I will continue to have conversations with your attorney.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
The other question is, I think, what is, it may be for your business plan.
Yeah,
So that area is in a remote area.
yeah.
I thought one of the failure of that place was no advertisement. Do you have any plan to advertise?
Yeah, so,
Or,
obviously,
maybe you need to advertise, that's what I'm going to say.
so absolutely, and Chris can speak on a little bit of this too, if you like, but if not, I'll jump in.
Yeah,
But
we're gonna advertise, we've already kind of laid the groundwork on.
Yeah, there was a zero advertisement, whereas this one, Route 12, they got a good advertisement. They did the business.
for us, I think by just coming in with a new name, coming in with our name, making noise in the community again, is automatically gonna just kind of bring a little bit of action to what's going on over there. Obviously, we're not on the main road, like Campfire is next to a post office down the street from a Walmart. So, but what we do know is that there's a baseball field back there, there's what looks to be a baseball training facility over there. We really want to get open for the spring to
Help the parents.
help the parents deal with, get through some of those
Free
warm
gummies for
days.
the
That is
kids.
a pay to play.
Yeah. But for us, it's getting into the community and kind of letting people know that we're there as well. That's how I believe we were so successful in Holyoke. If you
In my
follow
view,
us on Instagram, you see
in my
everybody.
view,
on our
you need to advertise.
As you could stop down there and help them with marketing, okay?
Yeah, if they pay me.
All right. He didn't say that, strike that from wherever record is out here. All right, any other questions?
I do
And now
have
I
one
have
more
a
question.
Now, you made a new question, I had another question after Jane's.
You can go first, then you shut off.
Do you know if any renewal paperwork has been submitted to the CCC yet, or has
Yeah.
anything been submitted at all to CCC?
Yeah, so it kind of all came down to the host community agreement, to be honest with you. There was a couple things before that, it was like maybe 3 or 4 items, but those 3 or 4 items were cleared up, like a certificate of good standing, which we cleared up with the state. I don't know, a couple minor things, I don't remember what they were, but this was the last.
So it's the HCA.
The
Have you
HCA.
submitted the existing HCA, though, for
We did,
renewal?
yeah, you can't complete the application without putting something in its place, so we put that in its place in
Okay.
hopes that it's like, hey, we're negotiating it, like, what do you want us to do? And they were like, no.
So it would be helpful if following this meeting, if they have provided back any comments to you about the existing HCA, if you or your council can share those.
Yeah, so they have a draft HCA,
Yep.
which everyone's, I'm not trying to tell you guys what
Yep.
to do. I know you probably have an attorney as well, but they have a draft HCA, which everyone seems to be using.
Yeah,
I know we're dealing with that with our
yeah.
other store. I was just on a call this morning at 10 a.m. and
What I'm
the
particularly
reason.
interested in is if when you submitted the current existing HCA,
Yeah.
what was their response back? Did they reject it? Did they send it back with comment? Did they give a letter saying that there are certain things we should do? So maybe they haven't done anything yet, but they do, when you submit the existing HCA, I would anticipate that there would be a formal response back from the CCC. So that would be helpful if you could share that.
I will, I'll
Excellent.
find that for you.
My concern, which I think you're getting to, is that this town can only have 2 licenses open at a time.
Yeah.
So you have to get rid of one or assume it or something, I don't know how it's gonna work out, but that's our stumbling block too.
That wasn't, but my concern, but.
That's my concern, so we'd have to say no if there's 2.
Well, this is the
Loud with
second
me?
list.
No. All right, any
It's a
other
paperwork thing
questions?
for us, I think.
No? Thank you guys for coming in.
Thank you.
Hopefully you get some rest if wherever you're coming from. And Jen will be in contact with you and ask you all the
Excellent.
questions.
Thank you very much, and I'll get that
Yeah,
answered.
do it again. Thank you, guys. All right.
Well, that went well.
That one, yeah. I'm sorry, everyone, I keep trying to sneeze during it, it's just weird. All right. Good, this one will be exciting. Consider the local initiative program for the project located at 235-245 West Boylston Street by Branded Realty Group, the third LLC. Thank you for sitting here. I know you had nothing else to do tonight.
I live close, it's no
Yeah.
big deal. So, I can put the site plan up, if that'd be helpful.
This is, so I walked in and saw a whiteboard and I was completely against it. I'm like, why do we need a whiteboard here? Because she's gonna write on it and we're gonna have to look at it, and now you already found use for it, so.
I'm glad to be of service.
It was in the back of the room for tonight's meeting, and now it's right here, and it has magnets.
I've never noticed it before.
This is just awesome.
Brand new.
I've never noticed there's no whiteboard in the back of the room.
I'm actively against it, so I want everyone to know.
So, this is our third time before this body, and we've been
Want to move it over somewhere?
Affordable
Oh.
Housing Trust, previously which endorsed the project, and we've been working with the town administrator and our consultant, who does a lot of the LIP work. So basically, the only thing that's changed is we have a lot more details, and the projects have been fully designed, and our budget is completed. That's moved around. So you'll see there's 3 buildings. This building is 60 units. This building and this building, our first floor is commercial. They each have 4 commercial spaces and 10 units on top of each. So 60 back here, 20 here. Our access is here to West Boylston Street and there to Pierce Street. So residents, we believe most of them will use this access. Some will obviously use this. We've arranged the parking so that there's nothing along West Boylston Street. Being very familiar with the town and operating a business here, and having been before zoning and planning on another project, we got all the traffic feedback on that, and we tried to incorporate it here, so there won't be anybody backing out onto West Boylston Street. It'll all be controlled access right there.
Okay.
Which is different than lots of commercial plazas because they don't have any curb cuts. So we really try to be very careful with that and the internal traffic circulation. So we have 20 affordable units out of the 80, which will help toward the town achieving, well, it will achieve its 10% affordable mix with this project. Should you see your way to approve it, there will be 21 one-bedroom units, 6 of those are affordable. 52 bedroom units, 11 of those are affordable. 9 3-bedroom units, 3 of those are affordable. There are 198 parking spaces. We will go before the zoning, obviously, and they'll do all their calculations. And we expect that there'll be, it's about 1.5 parking spaces per unit, plus the commercial spaces, and we expect those will be empty at night. There aren't any late-night businesses in this town. Businesses will close. We envision 1 space for a restaurant, and the rest will be retail. Hopefully local. The buildings that are on the site had some tenants in them. Their leases were up. Maybe they'll come back. We also own the plaza across the street. We acquired that. We're in negotiations with George Chocolo before he untimely passed, and we were able to make a deal with Mrs. Chocolo later. So we acquired that plaza. We plan to redevelop that, and hopefully those businesses will be able to move over into this space. So we can keep local businesses there, maybe bring some new businesses into town, whether it's in this plaza or in the redeveloped plaza across the street.
I like the layout of this just because I drive that street every single day, and there are so many openings and so many business,
Yes.
and the coming in and out of that street is
It's
It's
hard to-
difficult.
If you're in one of the businesses, it's hard to get in and out.
It is, and, so the buildings farther in the back, so it's two new commercial buildings, it looks like, and they're gonna go right up, so it doesn't look like parking in front of them.
No, no parking
No
along West
parking,
Boylston
so they're
Street.
just gonna have like a new business.
Correct, that was
Okay.
intentional, yeah. And
So
I've
that you
got,
wouldn't-
I can show you what the colors are just to demonstrate what that the different grade variations are. This is the rear building.
And in back here before, there was an RV rental place, there's like
That's
a bunch
that's
of
behind there, yeah.
RV storage.
storage, yeah, so there were like a
Right.
bunch of things back there that.
Yeah, it's Camping World uses it as storage.
Okay.
There was a landscape company there, they relocated to Sterling.
Okay.
But this is generally what the back building's gonna look like. This is gonna be brick, there's probably gonna be much more neutral colors. These are just to show you the grade differences.
Grades,
Because
okay.
some of them are parts are bumped out. And these are what the commercial storefronts are gonna look like along West Boylston Street. Again, the colors are just to demonstrate the differences, and the bottom is mostly glass storefront.
Do you mind turning around for all the people that are here? Just because they're here, we normally don't get an audience, so, sorry. Please pose. So that looks like glass. Are you doing like new modern glass kind of
For the
fronts?
commercial spaces,
Yeah?
yeah.
Okay.
And some of the residential units have balconies there as well,
Okay.
mostly the 3 bedrooms.
Any option for drive-through like the donuts across
We
the?
do not have a drive-through proposed. There just isn't enough room.
Okay. And then along the front, along West Boylston Street, actually, I guess and along the other edge too, are you gonna put a sidewalk and a curb?
Yes.
And clean up the whole
We'll-
street?
We'll have sidewalks, yes.
And then in front of the?
Because
the-
it's
the
a bus
piece-
route, so we expect some of the residents will need
Hopefully.
to walk to the bus.
Right. And walk back and forth. I mean, like, I
Correct.
think in your.
Yeah, walk to the other
You
businesses
mentioned
to
you go down to
shop.
Walmart and things like that. I mean, I don't know if they will, but at least we could start with the sidewalks in front of your place.
Correct, exactly right.
And then in the donut place that's existing, that little key
Yeah,
cut there?
that's here. We've tried to acquire this. It's not for sale. It's an operating business.
And-
And they have a lease with the owner.
And the only question I would ask is, while you're doing that work, I don't know, coordinate with them so that you could clean up the front, like right now, I think there's just this big wide curb opening in front of their place. But, kind of coordinate something with them or DPW or something.
Well, I can't do anything with that property because it's
Yeah.
ours.
No, I know. Well, okay, fine, then forget it.
I mean, we're gonna
I
clean
was
up
gonna say-
everything around it. Everything around it anything we control will be.
I mean, but coordinate with them, just because it's gonna look like garbage if you're beautiful, and then you don't even know where the edge of your curb cut could be at the front of their
We'll
place.
definitely make the offer to them, and any assistance that the town can be,
Right.
and we'll have our contractor do it if they would like to contribute to the cost.
Right.
Per square foot, it's probably gonna be a lot cheaper to do it for them that way. And that's, I believe it's the Miola family owns that property.
You're correct.
Yeah. And we have done business with them in other
Mhm.
towns. So, yeah, that's a good suggestion, because it'll make our property.
And well, look contiguous too, I mean, and if you're putting a sidewalk in,
Jay.
you could be lined up with whatever's in front of their place too.
It's a good
Speaker towards
suggestion.
him. Your speaker towards him. Go ahead, Raj.
Okay.
Do you
So the public interest is, how many units? All are rental, right? All 60
All the
are
rentals,
rental.
yes.
How many 1-bedroom?
There are,
How many 2-bedroom? How many 3-bedroom?
there are
21 one-bedroom, I like 9 three-bedroom.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's what he just went through.
21 1-bedroom?
21 bedroom, 1 bedroom, 50 2-bedroom, and 9 3-bedroom.
correct.
Okay. So with, the other question is, all the units are on the top.
Yes, in the two
How
front
many,
buildings.
how many businesses you are expecting, or at this time, you don't know what businesses?
Raj,
don't
you
know.
just,
Just a quick question.
well, no, that's
just
what he
said-
went
I have a
over.
better question.
Said it's gonna have each building's gonna have 4 businesses in it. There's gonna be 60 units in the main
I ju-
building,
I
and
just want
10
to hear-
units on the top of the other 2 buildings.
No, I missed it.
You already went
Sorry.
over this.
I
I
missed
can,
it,
I can
sorry.
show you the
Pay
floor plan
attention.
for the
Hold
unit.
on, I have the right to ask. Hold on.
I can show you what we have what we're expecting to build out for rental units for the businesses in each building will look like this. Obviously, this is a big space, we'll expect that maybe to be a restaurant, but say it's a tailor shop and a nail salon, they might each take half, right? So that might change, but this is the available space that we have for commercial. And that, we're proposing to lay it out this way, hopefully we'll lease it that way, but as we build it, we're gonna market it, and we'll find out as that happens. And again, we have tenants in our plaza across the street that are expanding, that want more space. So we know we have at least 2 probably that will move into that space.
Go ahead, Mark.
Just to confirm, the residential building is elevated, elevators?
No, there are no elevators.
There are no, oh, there's expenses for elevators.
It was just not feasible. And we started that way, and then the cost continued to rise as we developed the project. So we did have to eliminate those.
And it's
3 stories, yeah.
2 residential stories, like the first floor is the,
Yeah, first, on the 2 front buildings, it's 2 stories,
Yep.
first commercial, second residential.
and then the other one is 3 stories, the first is commercial
No.
residential.
No, the back building is all residential.
It's all, okay,
So all the A units will be on the first floor,
okay,
obviously.
all right. Okay, that's good. When I was reading through it, I just saw all the comments about elevated construction, elevated concerns, and I was hoping.
Oh, no, that was, it's for the grades and things. So we are here to ask for your consent and participation with us on the LIP for the state application.
So, Madam Chair, if I may, you have two potential votes, you could combine it into one. One is to formally endorse the project and authorize the chair to sign the letter of support that you have a draft of in your packet on behalf of the board. And the second is to approve the memorandum of agreement that is also in your packet.
You get to sit during this if you want.
I'm sorry?
I was like, you could sit if you'd like.
That's okay.
I'll make a motion, to authorize the chair to sign the letter in support of the local initiative program and to also sign the memorandum of, is it an understanding? A memorandum of agreement for the LIP project.
Second.
Any discussion?
What's on the memorandum of agreement? Like the other guy, the other LIP, we had a fairly important concern.
So the memorandum of agreement in this case does not include anything outside of the 4 corners of the project. So the other agreement that you executed talked about 2 other projects as well as a gift that essentially he was going to give to the town. This agreement is just that essentially that the developer is going to do what he said he is going to do, that he is going to build X number of units, that Y number of units will be affordable, and that he will use green standards and all of the things. It just elaborates out,
And
and
it's a permanent restriction for the affordable units.
that's correct. Thank you.
So nothing from the first one changes, all of that stays, there's no substantial changes from the first one we saw.
No, the last LIP for the other project.
No, the,
So that in your packet that you haven't, no changes from, there's been no changes to the letter of the MOA.
okay, so everything else for me, I have this here, but it didn't have any updates to it, so I figured it was
It's as was included in your packet. And it has, the memorandum of agreement has been reviewed by town council, who has approved as to form.
Okay. Any other questions?
I'm not ready.
Just a comment, really. This feels like it's nothing but really good for the town. It looks like a really nice, thoughtful project where we really need a really thoughtful project. And it helps us regain a lot of control over our zoning,
40B.
40Bs, and so I think it's a wonderful,
Transit community.
there's all kinds of
And it fits in with
upside.
the master plan, it's where this type of project is, the town wants.
100%, so I think it's nothing but good.
Go ahead, Mark.
All right, I agree. I think it's true. It's also an example of if somebody mentioned transit something, the MBTA
Right, the-
agreement that we're talking about, this is the sort of thing, exactly, almost the exact density we want. It's about 15 units per acre, because it's 5 and 80, you know. There's another place where it could be for MBTA, but this is perfect also, because
It
it's.
rings a lot of bells for everybody.
Yeah. The only thing I was gonna hope, I haven't had a chance to look through the memorandum of agreement, and I was hoping to include things in it. No sidewalks? We can delete sidewalks?
I mean, so he has represented to you this evening that he plans to place sidewalks
I believe they may be
on
shown
the
on-
front.
I didn't see them on the drawing. That's the
So,
only
We're gonna- you have to go to
so
zoning,
you
too.
could make it a condition of the memorandum of agreement that he includes those sidewalks on the property that's under his control.
Well, I don't want it to be this was the exact same thing I put into MBTA, which was all about connections, and connections to bus, connections to other places, walkways, connections from store to the residents, you know, it should be a pedestrian friendly whole development. And
We've never built a project without a sidewalk in front of it. And the most recent multifamily building we did was the old El Morocco site in
Yep.
Worcester, 100 Wall Street. We transformed that neighborhood, including with the sidewalks.
yeah. I mean, if it doesn't need to be in the MOA, it doesn't need to be in there, but if it was in there, I'd love
It
it.
can be, if you'd like it to be so that they can't say.
I prefer we discuss it at zoning because they're gonna have a bunch of other requests and.
Yeah, but I'm not on that board, I have to leave that to other people, and it's a control thing. But okay, I mean, I'm on board, it sounds like you're doing the right thing, I agree 100% with the comments earlier that it is the right thing in the right place, so.
Appreciate that, thank you.
And I would like to sign it tonight, just so we can get it going. That was the other thing I'd like to say.
We have to approve
You're
it
so
first.
quiet. You have nothing to say, Raj?
No.
Really?
Yep.
Take the
Usually.
vote. Take the vote.
All right. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? That was the easiest part of the meeting. Thank you so much.
Appreciate it.
Jen, do you want me to,
Couple
do we
months,
need to
it'll be
sign
all
this
set,
right
all
now?
done?
I'll leave these plans,
Can we just
Bill,
update,
ready to go, 2-3 months, right?
like, missing words in it?
I'll leave these with you guys if you
Okay,
want
and
to.
is that one of those?
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, well, it's everything.
Here, Jay, hold that for me.
Is this multi-copies, or is this just one complete?
That's, they're each a complete set.
Why don't we,
Nice, I'm taking,
why don't we leave
I'm
them
coloring it
with the
in.
town administrator in case anybody would like to see?
That's a great idea. So,
All right.
So
Thank
that
you
if
so much.
Questions in the future, we're close, so.
Actually, do we have a PDF version of this that we could distribute?
I'll get you one. I'll get you one. And thank you, Will, you gave us the ball, we'll run with it with the state.
Do
And your town administrator has been very helpful.
it? Nice.
She's tough negotiator,
All right,
but
folks.
fair.
I just got two complaints that the roads are really icy. I
know they're out,
I was like, the salt truck's out. I'm like, I don't know.
2 minutes?
Yes. Can we recess we're gonna recess for 2 minutes, guys? All right, consider the approval of a one-day licenses with fees waived for the senior center 5-year anniversary party. Well, that sounds exciting. Are we invited?
Yes.
Oh, lies.
Those are the 5 fear.
5 years.
I commented on that too.
Off the Hook Catering, great name, Common Vector and vendor license. Jerry Soft Serve, Common Vector and vendor license. Jerry has been around
Jerry has
since
been
my
around.
children were babies, like 22 years doing ice cream.
Probably longer than that.
All right, so that's consider
Waiving the fee and
waiving
approving
the
the
fee and
licenses.
giving them both licenses.
I would. so moved.
Motion, so moved, and I have a,
Second?
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, fantastic.
Before you kind of move off of this, as we're talking about licenses and fees for the senior center, I believe that there will be a request coming in for a one-day pouring license. And I am going to be researching that with our insurance company about what's required. I know that it's allowable. I know this isn't something that we have done before, so I don't want to kind of spend time and resources if the board is not inclined.
To get a one-day license to pour there, I think that I would be inclined.
I don't have any issue.
Yeah, because then you could rent it. I don't know why we don't
Okay.
do it.
All right, so I will, I will.
Why don't we just make it a perpetual license?
I think we could get more attendance.
Could we just make a motion to approve, like, all licenses associated with this?
No,
No, alcohol will have to be separate, yeah.
Okay.
thank you
Because
though.
it's alcohol, but you.
I don't feel like dealing with it.
They'll show up, okay? Listen, there'll be a pop-up and we'll get a call that we approved it and everyone will be upset.
I
If they
wouldn't be
give us
upset.
3%, I would be okay, but, all right, so, any other discussion items? All right, consider employment contract with Patty Page as interim department assistant building.
So as the board is aware, there's a vacancy in the Board of Health and Building Department Administrative Assistant position. That vacancy has been a true vacancy since last Friday. We do have our administrative assistant to the town clerk, only works Tuesday through Friday. So he is covering on Mondays. Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Faye is doing her best and struggling through, but Patty Page is the full-time employee in Sterling. She was recommended by the current building commissioner as potentially being able to help us out during this interim time period. They do not work Fridays there. And so she is able to come and help process some of the permits to keep the flow going in the office. I have started the interview process this week to fill the position, but I do believe that there will be some lag that we don't have the staff. So she's willing to come in and help out a couple hours a week at $33 an hour.
I had a question.
Go for it.
You said she's from Sterling. Do they currently use the e-permitting software that we're looking at?
Yes.
I'll make a motion to approve the short-term employment contract with Patricia Page.
Second?
Any discussion? No? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? All right. May 20th, 2024 town meeting. Review list of articles submitted for town meeting and draft of town meeting warrant. Do you want to take these in order? How do you want to go
Yeah,
on
I
these?
think that's the
Okay.
easiest, if that's all right.
Works for me.
So, you have in front of you, usually at this meeting, in the past, we've given just the list of articles, but with the difficulty of this season, I just decided to get the draft in front of you earlier. So you have a host of routine articles and not routine articles. I'll try to identify kind of what's standard, and go over those a little bit quicker. But stop me if you want more details. So, the warrant is closed. I just want to say publicly, the warrant is closed. It did close last Friday at 12 noon. There was one owner petition article, but no citizen petition articles. As folks on the board are aware, now that the articles are in, it doesn't mean that language can't change between now and the printing of the warrant. So many of these articles still have other boards to go through, legal counsel will look at them. So what you see before you this evening is not final language. Okay, so standard articles. The first article is to hear reports of officers and committees of the town. The second is authorization to borrow in anticipation of revenue and enter into a compensating balance agreement with a bank. This is a standard article. All it means is if we have a revenue shortfall, we can borrow money to pay our bills in advance of that revenue coming in. It's a safety measure that we haven't had to do. Similarly, authorization to expend funds in anticipation of reimbursement of state highway assistant aid. This is that we can expend funds in anticipation of our Chapter 90 funds coming in. That is a standard article. We have a COLA article of a 2% for all employees covered by the compensation and classification plan. The article is standard, the 2% is relatively standard. Authorization to set the salary of elected officials, standard article, select board, $1 each. Thank you for
You
your
know,
service.
I've never received $1. I just want to publicly let you know, no one has ever sent it to me. I don't know
I see people laughing out there. This is not,
This is not funny. I want it all. I want to frame it for the past 3 years.
I think, we
Nine.
we
We
need
need
to
to-
talk to the finance committee.
We need to audit them.
Not this year. Right, Finance
You think we should
Committee?
remind them that they get what they pay for?
They know I'm looking at them.
Okay, the next article is authorization to transfer unexpected funds from FY '24 appropriations. This is what we commonly refer to as our budget fix article, where there's funds left over in one department and we need to move it to another department. So we might have a transfer here for snow and ice. Sometimes that comes from free cash, but it might come from excess funds. But we know we need to cover some snow and ice, and there's also known, we're gonna need to cover in the police department. They have a lot of overtime due to so many folks being out. So those are the only two that I know of so far. Authorization to pay bills from a prior fiscal year. Again, this is a standard article, and I don't know of any, but without fail, one or two usually pop up in advance of town meeting. And this just allows us to cross over the fiscal year and pay a bill that's outstanding from FY '23, '22, et cetera. The next article is to appropriate money to the sewer enterprise account. This is what pays to run the sewer enterprise. So the budget numbers here are not final. They are still in draft form in your packet version. One is highlighted yellow that we're still working on, but this is how we fund our sewer enterprise. The next article, and I'm going to stop on this one and talk about it a little bit longer, is the FY '25 omnibus budget appropriation article. So I think that it's no surprise probably to anybody that we are potentially, an override is on the table for FY '25. Okay, so I don't think it's a surprise. We've been talking about it for some time. I've said it now publicly for the first time last week at the Finance Committee meeting. We are still working on what those numbers look like. There was some conversations last week with Town Council, the Chair of the Select Board, Chair of Finance Committee, Chair of School Committee, about how we are going to place this on the warrant. So as of July 1st, we need a balanced budget. Otherwise, we go into what's called 1/12 budgeting, which means that you're just getting month approved at a time. That would be disastrous for us, especially in the month of July, because so many of our big bills we pay in full and upfront. So we don't want to be in that position. So if it is the Select Board's decision to place what the Select Board places on the warrant, so the Select Board would have to vote to place an override article on the town meeting warrant. It's also the Select Board's decision to place that on the election warrant, because for a Proposition 2.5 override, it needs to pass both at town meeting and at the ballot box. The timing, if we don't want to have a special election, is such that you are not going to know the outcome of the town meeting vote when you are placing, if you are so inclined to place it on the election warrant. So you have to, it may appear on the annual town election warrant as a Proposition 2.5 override, having failed at the annual town meeting. That is a possibility. So because we don't know what's going to happen at the annual town meeting, we need to make sure that we have a balanced budget that is approved at town meeting that is not contingent on the override. So a budget, whatever that looks like, a budget, and an override budget. If both pass, at town meeting and the override passes at the election, then it's the override budget that controls. That would be the budget. If both pass at town meeting and it fails at the annual town election, then the base budget controls. Are there any questions about that part of the mechanics?
If the third one is, the override motion doesn't pass, can we pull back the election so we don't have to go through the
No,
motion?
no, but it's already set on the election warrant.
And you can't, I mean,
No.
it's just a pointless thing.
But it's not a special election.
It's your annual town
It's gonna be
election.
part of the regular
It's on the-
elections.
Okay, all right. So it's not a waste of time. for a
Correct.
bunch of people getting
Right, it's
together.
just another question on the,
Correct. And so another thing, but that leads to a good point that I actually was asked in my office today. What if town meeting proposes either a higher or lower number than what the plan motion was for the override? What happens at the election warrant? No, that number is set and that has to match. So that number, because you are setting, the number does not have to appear on the annual town meeting warrant, the dollar number, but it does appear on the election warrant. Okay?
But are you going to disclose the amount in the town meeting?
Oh, absolutely. No, we have to. And I'm going to disclose tonight some of the figures, okay? So where we are right now, if you're ready for that, but if we're still.
Are you suggesting that the number that we put onto the voting warrant be higher?
No, they have to match.
Oh, they have to match?
They have to match.
Oh.
So, couple of things. One is the town has not had an override since 1992. I believe that's the right year. It was for $200,000. Folks view that as a debt exclusion because it was to start the trash program, but it wasn't. It was only for that first year. Now it's just part of the general fund. So it was a Proposition 2.5 override. There has been at least one other override attempt, and that was for $3 million, and it failed. I don't know if it failed town meeting and the election warrant, but there was an attempt that failed under Leon Gommond. So, what we want to do, because this hasn't been something that, there are communities that they override every year for all sorts of things. They just, that's what they do in their town. But that's not the case for West Boylston. I think I have to give a lot of credit to a lot of folks who walked these streets before me for pushing this off as long as they could. I think that the town has really been extremely tight. There's been a lot of folks that have been very conscientious. Sometimes, in my opinion, I think perhaps a little overly cautious, but that's my opinion. But, you have held off this tide for as long as you could, those who have been in leadership positions. In my opinion, we can hold off this tide one more year if we have to. But we cannot hold it back for FY26.
One question. Hold back, but there would still be
Yes, so
sweeping
that's
service.
that's
not
what,
hold
so
back.
I'm gonna get into all of
Okay,
that.
okay, I was
get
gonna
into
say,
all
because
that.
someone did send
So
me.
if you guys could, I have kind of
Yeah.
a lot going on in my brain. If you don't mind,
Get it all out and then last
like
question.
writing some questions, I just don't want to
Or
forget
flip
my
the
train of
pages.
thought. I'm talking to you, Mike. So, because this is a town that is not used to overrides, and this is something that's a relatively new request. I mean, 1992, I think I was in elementary school, right? So this isn't something that has been before the townsfolk in recent history. A lot of folks aren't going to be used to this. One is that it may not pass this year, and so why I'm suggesting that we do it this year is because it may pass, but it may not, and we can make it through, but now we have the opportunity to educate, and I'm going to talk about education in a little bit, but we have the opportunity to educate folks, for folks to come into the conversation who maybe haven't been paying attention as you all have over the years. This isn't a new story for those of you sitting on this board. This is a new story, though, for some folks who haven't been tuned in the public, right? So number two is that we want to ensure that we have an override that we don't need to come back next year, and we don't need to come back the year after. That we have a number that gets us through what we hope to be 5 years. So right now, we are still, there are meetings with the school department. Obviously, the school is a major component of our budget. We're still working on conversations between the school and the town. They're incredibly collaborative. I really thank folks for coming to the table and having open and honest conversations. So we're still working on what those final numbers look like, but I can give a ballpark range of the overall override request being somewhere in the neighborhood of $2.5 and $3 million. We will not need all of that in FY '25. So we will not use it. And this is the part where education is going to be really important and where folks are going to need to, use your voices to help educate the public. We are buying excess levy capacity. Because Prop 2.5 is outpacing expenditures, if we get an override only for what we need for FY '25, we'll be right here again next year needing an override next year because Prop 2.5 is going to be outpaced again. So what I know we need of the $2.5 to $3 million for FY '25 is we have a $300,000 structural deficit. I'd like to get the free cash out of the budget. Use free cash for what it should be. So that's $300,000 plus approximately $225,000 to close the town side of the gap. So $525,000 on the town side, I know that we need to use for FY '25 of that $2.5 to $3 million authorization. I have asked the school to come up with a similar figure on their side. So we're going to continue to have conversations and meetings about this. One of the things that I'm hoping to get from the select board this evening is not whether or not the select board, because you don't have the information that you need before you right now to say whether or not you will support an override. But knowing that there is a $300,000 structural deficit on the town side, a $1 million structural deficit that will hit on the school side, and a budget shortfall, will the select board put a warrant article on the warrant for an override, not knowing what the numbers are? And the reason why I'm asking that is because the Finance Committee is in the audience tonight. The Finance Committee in their meetings has been actively talking about educating the public as one of the charges that they're going to undertake in advance of this town meeting session. They understand that this is something, they've started the education last year. I think you might remember a presentation that they gave at the town meeting in May saying, heads up, this is coming. We're just letting you know things are bad. But they are interested in, and I thank them for their willingness to go above and beyond the charge in doing some of the public outreach to explain to folks where we are. That state aid really isn't even flat. It's really, taxation is vastly outpacing. Where do we spend our money on? Where do we get our revenue from? And so if the board, and the reason why I'm saying that is because if the board says tonight, there is no chance that we are putting an override question to the people at the May town meeting, then they have a very different educational task before them for the next few months. And I mean, they are meeting every week, and their meeting this week is to talk about this workshop and what type of information they're going to put in. So they have a very different next 2 months. I have a very different next 2 months, and you all have a very different next 2 months. Because if there's absolutely no chance of an override, well, then we either grow the structural deficit and we get into a worst case scenario than we are in, and throw more free cash at it, which means there's less free cash available, and free cash is not free, and we should have free cash every year. There's a certain percentage of our budget that should be coming back out as free cash because you need free cash to fund certain things. So there will be less things that we can fund with that free cash that we're supposed to, like one-time purchases, our repairs, our equipment upgrades, all those things, because it's going into operations. So we can grow the structural deficit, or we can have service cuts. But those service cuts this year won't be as extreme as the service cuts that will be next year. Next year, I think we'd be looking at some pretty significant service cuts, because from everything that is being discussed, especially on the school side, and when I say school, I want to be clear that I am not talking about the West Boylston Public School. This is an issue that is across the Commonwealth right now. Every single school is up against the wall. I see Mr. Morrissey nodding his head. It is the Chapter 70 formula, the school choice, the out of district education. It's just crippling. So my colleagues are all doing the following, that as far as I've talked to. One, they're overriding. Two, they're doing service cuts. Or three, they don't have what we have right now, which is free cash in their budget, and they're balancing this year with free cash, and they'll figure it out next year. So far, those are the three things that I've heard. Other than certain towns closer to Boston who have excess levy capacity because they are the towns that override all the time, those are the only towns that are all set,
But they override all the time.
because they override all the time.
So,
Are you ready? Did you do
I'm
that?
ready for questions.
Are you ready?
Yes.
Okay.
can I take a step back and just say, make a motion to include Articles 1 through 8 on the warrant?
I like
Oh, we're
that.
doing this tonight, okay.
Do I have a second for 1 through 8? Yes? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Way to break it down a little bit easier. Okay. Is that the only question you had?
I have one question that.
Go for
it. My only question is, we've been using, it's now $300,000, is it 2% or 1%? 1%. We've been using 1% of the budget funded on free cash, and it's always been there. So, yes, there's a structural deficit, but we need, assuming we're gonna remove that $300,000 structural deficit, we need to be a little less conservative in our budgeting moving, this assumes the override is passed, because otherwise, the free cash number is gonna get out of control. So that's, it's not really a question, it's been dumb what we've been doing. We've been purposely generating free cash for the next year when that's not the way it should operate. So that's just a comment more so than a question. I don't have any questions. Go ahead.
Can I make a comment back to
Yeah.
that? I think, the folks who not only are sitting on Finance Committee, but Capital Investment Board, every year, they have hundreds of thousands of dollars of requests that they cannot fund for capital. And things are getting older and older and more expensive. And if they had that free cash available, they could fund those things. We don't have an OPEB funding plan. We have a temporary plan of how to fund our OPEB, but free cash could help to fund our OPEB. Right, so these are the things that we are not addressing that could, I'm not saying this is a panacea, but these are things that we're not addressing.
So,
Jay's next, then Raj.
Yeah,
then Mark.
it's-
Sorry. Go ahead.
I'm going to try to frame this as a question, but it's what we need is a larger townwide conversation about the structural services and the things that comprise the budget, but we don't have fundamental community engagement to begin with. So we've got a two-tier problem. So it kind of feels a little Sisyphean here, where we're just kind of trying to roll the ball up the hill, and it keeps dropping on us because we can't even get people engaged at the community level, never mind understand what actually is happening at the budgetary level, correct?
I absolutely agree with you.
Okay. Now, my own presence on this board is testament to that, right? So I'm talking to all 283, all of you who voted for me. Come on, can we do better than that, right? So what we need is kind of a plan to engage the community to get engaged.
Yes, so I know that the item did run an initial story based on the conversation that we had in this room a few weeks ago. I know that they're doing regional stories, but beyond just that, we need, so first of all, I think that the fact, people, this is coming out of conversations in drips and drabs. This is still at the talk to your neighbor, talk to your coffee, talk at the coffee shop, kind of, oh, did you hear the town's doing an override? When I don't want to say, I'm doing an override somewhere between the neighborhood of 2.5 and 3 million. I don't want to go out and say that yet. I want to say, we need an override for a definitive amount, 2.75 million. We're very close to getting that number. I just need to have a few more conversations. Once that happens, I'm going to actively message this. And my prediction is that you will see engagement like you have not seen in some time. And hopefully folks will take advantage of opportunities like what's being provided by the Finance Committee. They're planning on recording that so that if folks can't attend, they can watch it. We got some, I always was of the school of thought, or I was taught that once you put something on the election warrant, you're not allowed to do educational type forums. And I was told that that is not true because it's politicking. And I was told that by town council that that's not true. So the information will be out there. I believe that one forum is probably not going to be the only forum. I think that we're going to have kind of that Pride Park level of engagement again around this once folks are understanding that this is what.
Because, I mean, I'm sorry. I
Well,
don't
it's
wanna-
Raj's turn next,
It's Raj's
so.
turn, so I don't want to monopolize.
I do understand whatever you said. The question is, you did mention we are going for a warrant article will be there with the override.
Well, if you vote that, yeah.
So if not, if the warrant, the override article did not pass here or there, do we, the second one, whatever you are proposing, does it has any service cut? Or you don't know right now?
So you're saying if either, I just want to repeat your question back to you because I want to make sure I'm hearing it correctly. You're saying if either the select board chooses not to place the article on the warrant, or if the select board chooses to place it on the warrant and it doesn't pass,
Either the town meeting or the town election.
yes, there would be
So
cuts.
there is a second.
Yes, there
set
will
of-
be service cuts.
Point
The
of,
service cut, you are proposing another budget.
So if there is no override, in order to balance this, there's really two options. It's not, service cuts is not the only option. There is the option which I do not prefer, and I want to be clear on that, and I think it's a horrible, horrible way for this community to move, would be to grow the structural deficit and to close the budget with additional free cash. Because your policy does, the 1% policy does state that in extraordinary times, you can go above and beyond that 1%. I think that that would be really bad. I think we're going to we're already in trouble, it would get in worse trouble. So that, but I want to be honest that is an option. It's a terrible one, but it's an option. The service cuts to close the budget this year are not going to be drastic, but they will be there. But next year, they'll be drastic. And I'm talking about on order of things like, and I will say it because I think I've not been kind of shy about this, but when we're talking about, we don't have a lot of extras. We don't have a lot, you just heard me talk earlier tonight about the difficulty in staffing downstairs, and we've got somebody from the town clerk's office covering, and my office is covering, and There's not like somebody in an office that I could have just moved over to there and say, hey, I'm gonna park you here for this week because your office doesn't need you. The town staffing is very lean. We run a lean operation, almost too lean in my opinion. But, so if we need a significant service cut, I certainly wouldn't be looking at cutting public safety. There is not really any more cuts there's not any cuts you can make in town hall. So I would be looking at either cutting the trash program in its entirety, because that is an extra, and it is a option that you can opt to contract your own trash. It would be very hard to get, if this is a temporary issue that we're having, it would be very difficult to get, if we took that approach and cut the trash program, it would be difficult if we were able to restore the trash program in the future to get a contractor willing to come in and bid on us.
Cut for public listening means there is
Eliminate.
Eliminate. There would
So
be
other
no
towns
trash.
have done this. You have to hire private haulers individually as residents to
Yep.
remove your trash. There wouldn't be an offer. Someone said, well, what do you mean cut? Like, that means no more.
No more trash.
We no longer
No
offer that
trash,
as a service.
recycling, nothing.
I mean, there's other options within that. There's sub-options that you can run the trash program like an enterprise, and people could pay to opt in above and beyond,
Yep.
but that's additional tax, essentially. You're paying above and beyond.
But the
So
Wachusett thing is separate.
that's an option, okay? The trash is budgeted for FY '25, just so folks understand. FY '25 trash budget all in, including our tipping fees and paying for the bags, $620,000 roughly, okay? Hold on, I want to finish. I'm still answering this question.
That's a follow-up question on the
I'm
trash.
still-
When you are done,
okay, yeah,
I
okay.
have a follow-up
Okay.
question on the trash.
So the other option is that we would be shutting down programmatic areas that are extra. I know a lot of folks like to say, just shut down the senior center. The senior center costs us $170,000 to run every year because it is offset by some state programs. But if folks really don't want to cut trash and they want to retain trash, then I would be looking at shutting or dramatically closing, so like some percentage being open, the senior center and the library. Now, when I talked about the negative of shutting down the trash program, that we would have difficulty in restoring it, there's a couple negatives specific to the library, that you can apply for waivers when you cut the library. The library system, the state system, has protections in place to insulate from cuts, okay? So that you can't disproportionately cut a library budget in comparison to the rest of your municipal budget. You can apply for some waivers. The level of cuts that I'm talking about, we probably would not be eligible for those waivers. We would lose our accreditation, and so folks that have your CW Mars that allow you to go to other libraries, even though, let's say, hypothetically speaking, our library was open 30% of what it is now, and there's still staff and there's still books, you don't get to use your CW Mars card at another library. But that is on order of the cuts that we would be talking about, not necessarily in FY '25 to make it work, but in FY '26. So, and again, the kind of, I hope that we're able to engage the public and get them to understand that this is where we are at and that folks will support an override. But if they don't this year, they'll be more educated for this question next year. But next year, those things are very much real.
And I know he has a question on that, but that also, we're talking about town things, so that, we don't know from the school what would need to be cut at that
Correct.
level. They're gonna produce that, so even if we did that, if we don't fund them based on open knowledge, there will be
The school-
dramatic changes within both of those schools to keep it going.
School would likely, if I just had to make an educated guess of what would happen, the school would experience some level of layoffs, increased class sizes, and extra programming that was not self-funded would be reduced.
And any curriculum
Yeah,
costs that
yeah.
you,
Initially, my understanding is, the trash is now free because of the override, right? How is the trash is funded now?
No, it's
not free.
It's not free. So the trash is funded from taxation. That's a very simple answer. So an override, if it's a specific purpose override, it's for that specific and I'm glad you asked this because I do think that there's a lot of misinformation about the way this was talked about. For the first year that was funded, it was for that purpose. After that first year, it just goes into the general fund like everything else and can be used for any purpose, subject to appropriation at town meeting. So anytime a debt exclusion, differently, like you have a debt exclusion when you went out for the senior center. That debt exclusion is specific to the senior center and is only for that senior center debt, right? That's not the same when you have an override. I'm happy to provide the analysis, though, on where that override is in today's dollars. It's about covering the trash program. It still is about covering the trash program. However, hold on one moment. Sorry, public safety, road condition things. Okay, sorry.
Everything good?
Everything's good.
my kid,
So it's about covering the trash program. However, we are up for renewal next year. I don't know what that renewal will look like. I expect that it's not going to be similar to what we are currently experiencing. I expect it going to be dramatically increased. And I would be doing a disservice this is about bringing choices to people. This is about people saying what their values are. If your value is to keep the trash program and to keep the library operational and to keep the senior center open and active, I mean, that's a building that's growing and is active, and you don't want to cut anything, then your value is going to dictate that you're going to vote for the override. If your values are that you don't really care about those things, that your top priority is, I don't want to pay 1 more cent in taxes, I don't care about the trash program, I'll figure it out, then that's your choice. It's bringing the choice to the people, really, is what I'm trying to do with this. But that other option of bringing the choice to the people of increasing the deficit, I would say that that's a horrible choice. That is like, you are kicking the can only so that you can come back and get slapped in the face with a rude reality next year. It will be worse next year if we make the deficit bigger.
And for clarification, public safety would be off the table because why?
Because our public safety is already lean. And we added 3 positions in fire last year. We still haven't been able to fill them. We're not adequately staffed in police or fire. You can see that from the overtime budgets. So we can't cut them,
we don't have enough of them right now to cut, if we did.
but good question.
Did you have one?
Do we have enough time to educate the public
I think so.
from now to May 20th?
I think so. And that's, again, why I'm asking for this tonight, because it's like Jen, can you check on what's going on with this tree? Jen, can you do this side project? No. This is like, not that this hasn't been all that's been all-consuming in the past couple weeks, but. Pretty close.
And I think similar, not only our board, but I think the school committee is also going to have something on their agenda in the future to say, are they supporting or working with groups for an override. So I think for us, you're just looking for our support to say, we would be willing, we don't know the number, we're gonna have questions when the new number comes, because I'm gonna wanna see
Yeah.
all of the what happens if the town votes it down, and then the reality is education. We all like social media, so I know there'll be a lot of social media bashing, but here's the reality of what's gonna happen, and the only one to blame is the people that didn't show up to actually vote it through. So I would say, on my perspective, I mean, I still have children that go to these schools, I don't want to see this grow, and I don't wanna close down, I don't go to the library as much, but I don't wanna see that as an option. So I'd say that's kinda how I feel about it.
So how we feel about it, I don't think really matters. Our-
Not tonight.
Whether,
Eventually.
whether we want lower taxes or level services, that's not what's before us today. We'd be doing a disservice, complete disservice to the people that elected us if we didn't give them the option. It's a no-brainer to say, we're going to put an override on the warrant. Doesn't mean we're endorsing it. We may or may not do that at a later time, but I can't imagine any reason why we wouldn't put it on the warrant to let the townspeople make that decision.
You know, generally speaking, my own personal approach is no, hell no. I'm never vote for an override. But what's more important to me is that we have a conversation, because this town is really important to me. And what's really important is that we look at the things that make us a town worth living in and engaging in. And, you know, the school department is really important to me. I think it's, you know, the schools are the number one driver of property values. If we don't have a good school system, then all the houses that everybody in this room owns aren't worth what they could be. I think parks are really important. I like trash collection, but the point is, you know, my own personal values here. I want to know what all goes into it, and I want the people of the town to know what all goes into it before they say, yeah, let's vote for that, or hell no.
Absolutely.
So, you know, that's, my motion is to, yeah, include it on the town warrant, even though that I'm
Second.
philosophically opposed. but-
Discussion?
Yeah, I do echo the same thing because I'm one member of the select board. Yes, I was elected to represent the people of this town. So it's unfair if I don't agree to put it on the town meeting warrant, and then, you know, let the town people decide whether I will vote for the override. This is my personal thing, but I'm not going to stop it from the town people to say yes or no.
I will say this, that if I'm going to be taxed, it's going to be taxed at a local level, and I'll fight everybody else. But
Anyone else for discussion before I
I
have,
still have all my questions. She said not to talk while she was talking.
I thought
He waited so patiently.
all right, go ahead, Mark. Do you have 20 of them there, or?
At least.
I love Mark, he's just,
No, I don't know 20. First was so I'm just gonna run through the whole mess. A comment about the education. You were saying that we've done one override before, but I would also somehow stick in there the education about how we voted for the police station and the sort of the big funds that we've spent before that weren't overrides, but there were big decisions. for
Debt
the town.
exclusions?
You know, and how they sort of fit all together there. Because I don't think that people, me, would understand, like, oh, we've only done one override. Like, what, do we just have enough money in our pockets to build a police station and association? I mean, we did vote on those, and we did do a lot of work for that funding. How does that work into the same conversation as, in that education would be interesting.
The finance
Yeah,
committee, when they
that's-
put,
so that's on them. I don't-
when they
can
put on those.
you write those notes down?
And
He's taking notes, he's got a list.
I think Chris already knew that.
He knew that?
Yeah.
You want me to include that in the educational project?
Yes.
Yes.
As well as all the other capital projects we may be considering in future years?
Yes.
Well, or as an education to why we're not talking about that as an override, because it isn't an override,
All
but it
right,
was a big decision.
go to your next one. See what I did? I did this, I'm sorry.
The first one was also about the putting this on the warrant or not putting this on the warrant. From my first week here as a select board member, I've learned the lesson about saying, God, no, I would never do this. I'm not putting this out there. And you do that, and then everybody gets crapped on, and there's all sorts of problems. Boom, put it out there. Let's see how this thing flies.
Don't read West Boylston Neighbors Connect. You'll be fine.
Well, that's the whole thing. So, I mean, I guess I'm just reiterating that it doesn't matter what I feel, this is what we should do, kind of thing. It would be interesting if you were talking about the trash, like we talk about how much the bags are and how much you raise the fee for the bags. It would be interesting, like we say that the bags, or the trash is worth, what it was, $700,000, something like that.
620.
And what would the equivalent bag cost be if we were actually gonna pay for the whole service with a bag?
Bags.
It would be like a $90 bag every week or something like that. I mean, that would be an interesting comparison to give to people, but, I mean, that's just.
It took
my
us
sort of
14
analogy.
years to increase it a few dollars. Could you imagine 90 the next hike?
No, but that's what I mean, like, all right, if you're, yeah, it was rough to go up that much, but if we just cut it away completely, now there's a $90 or whatever it is that you guys gotta handle,
You
somehow.
made 3 statements, no question, Chipmark.
I know.
Oh, all right.
So you should have done what I did, which is just phrase your statement as
Like
a
a
question.
Like in
Okay.
Jeopardy?
Yeah,
What
this
is,
is
Two,
Jeff-
two more,
what is trash bag? What is?
okay?
And then the biggest one, I guess, is the education points about how you engage the town or the people of the town to get their impression about what they want the town to look like in a service organization. I don't know how to do it. I mean, it seems to be to get people out to talk, to get people out to say, no, okay, I want trash, but no, I don't want the rest of this. I don't want to pay any more taxes. I don't mind paying more taxes. I mean, I don't know how you're gonna get that out of people, but I think it's gonna be difficult, but absolutely necessary.
So, to that point, if any members of the board want to post a, after action item tomorrow morning on West Boylston Neighbors Connect, by the way, we voted to include an override question on the
I
town
don't
meeting
mind.
warrant. That's it, the engagement starts right there, because I think it will really, and I said it kind of jokingly, but I think once folks really understand that this is before them, this is going to really spread, and they're going to be asking for this type of information. If they're not here banging
So-
down the door saying, where do my tax dollars go?
I want to give the thought if it goes on, because there's, it is out there, and the debate is, why would we fund the school that much? That was literally the first question I got after, cut their funding. They have too many administrative staff, they have too many paras. That is not a debate I want to even see, because they're going to flood your email, flood every one of our calls, and the debate is, fund this and not that. And that's a difficult conversation, because I don't mind posting, I mean, there's really not anything left on West Boylston Neighbors Connect that could shy me away, but, I mean, it is one of those things that we could spend 2 months fielding phone calls.
So what we do is we post finance committee agendas
We should, yes.
and
invite them to the
invite people
finance
to come
committee.
to the town meeting.
So
So,
who will be,
They have trouble getting a seat, that's all, it's always so crowded.
But
Well, we'll have the best seats in
Well,
the house because we're.
do we have any other
we're up front.
questions on this before finishing that part?
only
Raj does.
one simple question, who will be educating this? Is this our excellent finance committee members?
so the finance committee, the way that I understand this is gonna go is the finance committee is gonna do the yeoman's work of preparing this educational forum, but and it's going to be held at the senior center. Senior center doesn't know that yet, but it will be held there in the evening.
Sounds
So-
like a community center.
But they can't go there and answer for everybody, right? They can't go and answer on behalf of the town administrator, and they can't go and answer on behalf of the superintendent. They're gonna kind of carry the water, but we need to be working with them and supporting them. And, specifically to your question, Leslie has already been sending data to Chris and helping to analyze the data so that they can get the things together. I think, though, it's important, I just want to kind of say, it's important that, yes, I live in the next town over, but I'm not a West Boylston resident, right? Leslie's not a West Boylston resident, the town accountant. She's wonderful at what she does. Faye's not a West Boylston resident. It's important that folks hear from their trusted and known elected and appointed officials. And if I had to say, if I could say, wave my magic wand and say, how do I think that this could be the most successful? It's that if in general, and I'm not asking for this tonight, I'm just saying, if in general, finance committee, select board, school committee, town administrator, and superintendent all are generally walking in the same direction on this thing, okay? Because overrides can be, I said this in finance committee the other night, overrides can be ugly. They can tear communities apart. Let's not be one of those communities. Let's be better than that. Let's not get personal. We're gonna have some tough conversations between now and May 20th. You're gonna have tough conversations with your neighbors. You might have some tough conversations with FinCom. I know FinCom's gonna have some tough conversations with me. But that, especially Chris Berglund. But let's do, we all are doing this because we want what's best for the community. We might disagree on how to get there, but as much as we can be a united front on this, I think it would be really important and healthy for the community to look to the leadership and see that. Yes.
Okay, to the end of like, Facebook or whatever, what are our concerns with open meeting law violations? Like, what can we and can we not say and crap like that?
I would be hesitant to share your personal opinions on,
Well, and we don't really have a.
but to say,
space in front of us, yeah.
that you took a vote, hey, the select board took this vote last night. Mike, drop the mic.
Why, what's wrong with him sharing his personal opinions?
If another select board member got on the same post and started to engage with their personal opinions in the thread, and then a third got into the post and shared their personal opinions on the thread, now you're into that.
Okay.
So that just becomes a discussion and then that's the
That,
problem.
well, because you also meet a quorum, because there are several times I see something I would
But
like to
rarely do we
engage
vote on
and can't.
Facebook.
Well,
No, you can't.
No, it's
you-
the discussion.
can't have
It's not
discussion.
just the vote.
Oh.
You can't have that discussion.
and that happens with any board, so I know I see it is every board, because there are many times that I sit there as one of the 20 that still are on every board. And if someone is willing to take any of those, it's okay. It's hard to not respond, even when you see miscommunication, because I can't say that's wrong, this is right. I can't even say you should watch this meeting video. I've thought about doing that,
Say
and
that.
not after 2 others have replied.
It depends if you're sharing your opinions and if it constitutes discussion.
Oh, this was a discussion.
Okay, well, just for the record, I'm not going to participate in any of that conversation.
Okay. So
Roswell.
why,
All right.
What about your
only one more question for me. Why do we have to rely on a community Facebook page? Why don't we have a town?
They're doing
So
educational
what I'm talking
sessions.
about is doing a multi-method information. So I'm not saying rely, I just said, what I had said earlier, maybe you missed it, was that I don't want to go out and I'm not ready to go out formally on our website and say, hey, guys, we're going to do an override somewhere in the neighborhood of 2.5 to 3 million. When that's all ready, it will launch with the PowerPoint presentations and data, and here's the link to, here's the link to the DLS calculator so that you can punch in, you can see exactly how much this will impact your taxes for your house. The averages are great, but nobody really cares about averages. They care about how much is this gonna increase my house. All that's gonna be out there, Raj. I'm just saying that there's many tools in the toolbox for getting information.
So this is more of a curious conversation about what are the structural building blocks of the budget, where we currently are, what are the implications. We're not putting dollar amounts to it, per se, at the moment, but it's more about this is how this stuff works. Is that accurate? I'm seeing some more or less nods.
Yeah. So our plan is, it's
purely educational. And I did want to actually speak to a point that Mark had made.
Do we want to, can we just have you pop up? Sorry.
I can't get you.
Because we do have some folks online, so I think it's good. I'll just put you on the spot. Can you give us their full name and what committee you're on?
Okay.
Board.
Ray Burkalt, Vice Chair of the Finance Committee. So to answer the question, the intent would be it's purely educational. Where are we coming from? Why is the budget what it is? Why are we in deficit? As best we can in language and terms that the public can absorb. But Mark, you had mentioned something before that I did want to address. You're implying that some of what we would be doing is taking the pulse of the community and trying to lay some direction. That's not what we would be
But I
doing.
think we need to do it. I don't know, your education might get people to think about it, but I don't know if that's the intent of it sounds like no.
It is not, and I'm speaking for myself, we're not looking at building something to that end.
Yeah, I would agree that that's not what, but maybe somewhere else that makes sense, but not.
Agreed. So, I mean, that's probably more in the purview of the Board of Selectmen to take the pulse of the town and take what kind of direction they're looking for. But as we've discussed it would be purely educational and try to answer the questions of how did we get here, although I'm sure somebody's going to be selling torches when they start seeing the meetings listed.
That's fine. At least they'll be educated,
I mean,
educated arsonists, I don't know, but
the thing I brought up was about the difference between an override and then how we pay for
A debt exclusion.
the debt exclusion buildings in town, or with the debt exclusion. And just
Yeah.
why that's different to people. People might, in their head, be like, no, this is things we're spending money on, it's the same. Why are you telling me we've never done this before?
Yeah, it'll be a delicate balance. We want to
Yeah.
basically provide the information for right now, not ignore what's yet to come. I mean, there's other debt exclusions that are very likely in the near future, but, how much do you really focus on that? You don't want
Oh, no, not
to
you,
cloud the
but
issues.
just what a debt exclusion is and what a override is.
Well, can I just jump in here? Because I think what Ray said is important. I think what this override, if it passes, is not occurring in a vacuum. And I think that the Finance Committee wants to be really transparent that it is not in the distant future, it is in the near future that the community will be asked for additional debt exclusions. So I just wanted to kind of pause on that point and highlight that they're trying to be transparent that, we just passed the senior center, that debt exclusion was what, 2018, 2017? And so, that's not the end of the road. There's additional debt exclusions coming down the pipeline.
And it's a delicate balancing act, being informative, but not creating confusion.
The torch for them.
Not our preference.
Yeah, and also educating the
Thank you.
public that not only are there maybe future debt exclusions in the offing, but there's also existing debt on the balance sheet that will be rolling off. So we'll hopefully
Yes.
provide some capacity for that.
All right, any other questions? I have a motion and a second.
Yeah.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? We are,
What was that
good.
motion?
To
Include the debt exclusion,
Included, but we're on 9.
the override, I'm sorry.
it's article not to include.
That was different than Article 9.
No, it's
No,
different,
it was-
legal counsel is drafting Article 9. This is just to include a Proposition 2.5 override article on the town meeting warrant for the FY
In
'25
place
operating
of
budget.
between 9.5 or
No, it
something?
will be 9, 9 might be a 9 and a 10.
Okay.
So
Potentially an 11 if you have to have two budgets.
exactly, right, so, but town council is taking care of that, so I guess if the board is inclined to include any of the additional articles on the warrant from here on, let's remove the numbers and just the subject matter, because now we're gonna get weird.
We can just call them
Yeah, they're what they are,
as numbered.
yeah.
All right, so that went on.
Good.
Do we want to proceed through the rest of the articles?
Yeah.
that's a
I'd
brief
love to.
snapshot of what the town meeting will look like, right?
Oh, no,
no,
it's going to
no,
be great on town meeting. I'm really excited.
Okay, so the next article is the omnibus capital improvement article. Why is there nothing listed on here, people may ask? Well, because those things and what is being funded is included in the motion under this. The Capital Investment Board has heard from just about everybody. They have one more request that they're hearing from this week. They're gonna hold off on making some recommendations because, from what I understand, because that funding question of how much money is available, or maybe you're gonna have to do a contingent now that this conversation has progressed, because of whether or not we're using additional free cash above and beyond the 300,000 hasn't been decided yet. That impacts their spending ability or appropriation ability for sources for those items. But I think that they've had pretty great conversations with departments and have had a wonderful process. The next two articles are for, so there is some borrowing that came off, and that was 2019 fire truck, and that is called, what we call inside borrowing. I have to get to my right page. So it's not borrowing utilizing a debt exclusion, it's borrowing within our levy limit. And so what we try to do is anytime that comes off, we try to plug that hole with a similar purchase. So that borrowing was $530,000. It's now been paid off. So the next two, and Capital Investment Board has not weighed in on these and taken a position on these yet, is for two dump trucks. They're the same truck, but you'll see vastly different amounts. One is $231,710, and one is $308,050. The reason is because one utilizes an existing dump body on a truck that we're gonna take off and put on a new truck. The dump body's still good. The other is a complete rebuild.
Can I ask a
Like to offer
question?
my dump buddy.
The $500,000 that's the, within 2.5 borrowing, if that goes away, does that give us $500,000 of levy capacity for,
It doesn't give us $500,000 of levy capacity. And I think I know where you're going with this. It gives us our debt service on that.
So it
that-
gives
so
us
it's about
125?
125.
okay,
So I originally, when I was seeing this overall budget issue, I said, and I even had the conversation with the chair of FinCom, hey, maybe we don't go out and plug this hole. Maybe we just use this debt service in the budget. And I talked to other, Leslie looked at me with her raised eyebrows, and so I decided to reach out to other people who have been doing this a lot longer than I have and said, is this smart to do? Should we not do this inside borrowing anymore? We're really up against it. And they said, no, you absolutely should keep it because you'll never get it back again. And you need that ability because that guarantees that every 4 or 5 years, you're gonna be able to do a semi-large capital procurement.
okay, thank you.
All right, the next article is to amend our chart of revolving funds. And this is to add a new revolving fund. Sorry.
Do you want to accept the ones that we've done, just to keep track? of
No,
them?
let's just keep going so we
We
get
don't
through them a
have,
little bit.
so typically you're not, we're very early for putting things on the warrant.
Oh, okay.
Hey, I don't mind it
I
though.
already just put the first 8 on, so
I know,
we're good.
so,
Well,
so if you, I know we're getting
we're
up to
at,
the
we did
witching hour, but.
9 through 9
9
through
through
12. Is that a motion to approve 9 through 12 to put on the
What do you
warrant?
want to do with 9? Is 9 a
Well-
real thing yet?
So they're all real things, it's just the language is not final. So you're not, any votes that you take tonight on putting these articles on the warrant are subject to final language. This
We're-
is, they
we're
are no,
approving-
they're not in their final
We're
form.
approving the concept.
You're approving the concept.
And the dump truck things, are they still working on this, or do we want to put them on?
So they will make recommendations of whether or not to endorse them. And
Oh,
I
but
think
the-
I would probably, if I don't get the endorsement of the Capital Investment Board, I would suggest that we probably move to pass over these at town meeting. Is that helpful?
Yeah, so we put them on now, and then we'll undo that, okay?
Yep.
So, yeah, I would do that motion, what you said.
Okay, and then you got a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, all right, now move on.
Okay, so next article is, we had talked about doing the technology fee. And so this is a revolving fund for the technology fee. It's to establish that fund to allow us to take in any fees charged to utilize online permitting and licensing. That's what the money coming into the fund, and the money going out of the fund is to pay for the expense associated with the permitting and licensing software. The next article is to, go ahead.
I have a question about that one. Is that like a nightmare? Because now, when you get a permit, you're gonna get, a permit comes in with the money that's gonna go to the building department and some money that's going over here to the fee, and
No.
is that horrible?
No, not at all, nope. We turn the money over to the treasurer collector, and we just write what accounts we're turning it over to.
Right?
It's not a big deal. But it's the only way that if we take that money in, that we have a direct way to expend out of it without having to further appropriate it. Otherwise, it would come in as miscellaneous revenue. We couldn't expend it out until the following fiscal year, so it's the only way that we get that revolving in out.
And that's tied, is that tied to the way they charge or something?
No, so
Just
actually,
we
it
make
might be
sure-
helpful if you go to the next article for illustrative purposes where we have, so this is where we set the spending limits of all revolving fees.
Okay.
So this is all of our different funds. They all have different purposes of what you can use them for and where the money comes from. And if you see, they're all like the senior meals program. Money comes in, money goes out.
Okay.
Technology fee, money comes in, money goes out. Get it?
Yeah.
Okay.
I just wanna make sure it covers, I mean, it should.
So you're not putting any money into this. The $50,000 is saying that's the cap on that fund.
Is there still money in the ESCO revolving fund? No more money's going into it.
I don't know, I can check on that.
We might not need that one anymore.
I just look up assuming you know the answer off the top of your head, but no one nodded, so. Well, they were sitting there, I'm like, do you know the answer? All right. All right, Jen, keep going. 'Cause-
All right, the next two articles are really placeholders. They probably won't be on the final warrant, but it's to appropriate funds to the OPEB trust fund and to appropriate funds to the municipal building fund. I think if there's gonna be any appropriations here, they'll probably be in the fall.
Okay.
Don't we have money set aside in free cash for the OPEB?
Yes, for 1 or 2 more years, but I'd rather do it in the fall.
Well, I was gonna say that to add each year so we get that.
Maybe I don't, let me think about, I gotta think about that, but that got a little, we have a busy warrant, and I'm just thinking about how that,
Yeah, we can always do that in the fall, it's not a big deal.
exactly. So opioid settlement fund, this legislature finally acted. I think, I remember watching meetings and Jim Purcell was talking about, we're gonna put some, weren't they, but the legislature might do something. They did. So they now have a way to handle any monies that we receive from opioid settlement, and you don't need to appropriate out of that fund. So the money just any new money automatically goes into this, but we have money that we've already received before the establishment of this fund that's sitting in free cash that Leslie's been having to track through free cash that has to get, it's opioid money, it can only be spent on opioid things. This is to move that money from free cash to the opioid settlement fund.
So the legislature basically made an omnibus opioid revolving fund for everybody?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, the next article is, this is a local option, and it's to give the select board and SWAT more options when it comes to trash contractor renewals. So in the past, when we did, we went out to bid for different trash companies, and we did a full procurement. Solid waste is exempt from the requirements of Chapter 30B. You do not have to go out for a full RFP. So if SWAT and the select board wanted to just renew the contract, or renegotiate a contract or a new contract with just one provider without doing a full procurement, you could, but that contract would be limited to a term of 3 years by state law. the legislative body of the town meeting can vote to authorize those contracts for solid waste under this article to be up to 5 years in term. And what that does is get you better pricing. So it's just authorizing that the solid waste contracts could be for 5 years.
Why would we not want to do an RFP for a contract as large as the,
Well, I think last year, you really only had one, or last time, not last year, you only had one bidder. And you might not, they may not want to go through mechanics of a full procurement. It's just an option. It doesn't preclude us from doing a full RFP. The next article is to accept local option. You might recall Bartholomew Investments, when they were here talking to the select board last time, talked about the prudent investor rule, that you don't have to follow this list, that you can go outside this list but you have to act as a prudent investor would in managing your trust accounts. This would allow us to follow that. All right. The next one, I have to remember. Okay, okay, so the next one is to allow folks, sounds bigger than it is, but it's to allow folks who were call members of our fire department or police department, who later became full-time members of the department, to credit more than 5 years of their call time in day-for-day service with the retirement board. And the reason why I said this sounds bigger than this is as far as I know, this affects 2 folks currently. One is a retiree, one is still active. So there's not a lot of folks who were on our call time, but it allows them to use their full amount of call service to the town towards their retirement in a day for a day. And it's another local option.
But it's did they were on call, whether or not they were called.
No, that they weren't.
But they did work.
Yes, that they were called.
And
there?
and how does
Track
that,
of it.
and how does that change? I mean, is it,
Right now,
it's
they're
capped
not.
at 5 years?
Yeah.
Got it.
Exactly. The next article, I have town council writing this one. This is at the request of retiree Al LaQuare. He was our police chief a number of years ago. He retired due to disability. He is requesting that the town file what's called a home rule petition on his behalf. And essentially there would be if approved, there would be a piece of legislation that goes to the legislature that is only about him, with only his name on it, because this is not uncommon when folks go out on retirement disability. It's essentially that they, if he had been able to work to the finale of his career, his retirement would have been X. But because he had to retire prematurely due to his job-related disability, his retirement is much lower. I don't know all of the details I understand the mechanics of it somewhat, but I really put this out to Labor Council and said, help me here. I think it'll be more informative when we get that language back from council.
Would it, since it's retirement, is it not really a cost so much to the town, but to the just?
It'll be a cost to the town, but it's only about one specific individual.
What about the others? If someone, other department?
It's only
If
going
on
to
a
apply to
disability.
people, so other folks would have to request it, number one, because it's specific to just that individual that's named in the legislation, and it's only about disability retirement.
Yeah, I'm asking about the, disability retirement.
Yep, so this is gonna be a policy question, once we get the language back from council, whether or not you want to include it on the warrant.
Thank you.
And, I don't know if we can talk about it as it comes closer, but maybe we have Mr. LeClaire here to explain what he's requesting.
Could we possibly look at those articles, if we want to take a vote to place all the ones up until Article 20 and anyone that has X's leave for a later date,
To just go, but
go over them but not vote on them
I
until
don't,
we
you don't have to
have.
vote on any.
Well, I mean, but since we've already gone
I'll
through
make a
those
motion to include the ones we haven't through Article 20.
Second.
additional,
Article 20, or
including,
Through Article 20.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? No. Okay, so Jen, the remaining ones, can we go through these? Because I do think some of these I'm gonna, like, that article for the petition, I think we're gonna want a little more substance, so I don't want to vote to immediately put some of these on here.
So the next one, the owner petitioned article, this is one that you had, I think, before you at the last select board meeting, where you already referred it back to the planning
Yeah.
board to hold their public hearing.
That's one of the reasons I didn't want to vote to
Yeah.
put that on, because I haven't heard from the planning board.
So they haven't, yeah, they haven't had that, I think you had a
Yeah.
public hearing
We didn't have
scheduled
time.
for
We have to
April.
wait for the 2
Yeah,
weeks.
right. So, it's to rezone, an owner can petition to rezone a portion of their lot, and, hold on just a second. As,
I remember this one from last time, but
so, this is as submitted, I'm gonna read a quote from as submitted by the owner through his attorney. This is part of an established zoning amendment procedure of the town of West Boylston. The select board and the planning board would hold a public hearing by amending the zoning map for these lots. The subject properties will be entirely in the business district rather than in the industrial district. All right, so the next one,
I would make a motion to put it on, because I don't think it's not gonna,
I know, but I don't, we would have a ton of things to pass over if these don't go through those different boards.
oh, okay.
So
We're gonna
if,
do our best to make it get through the board, but. I mean, but it doesn't matter to me if we do
Yeah,
it today or
it's
later.
not in a hurry now.
we don't need to set.
I was gonna say, because we're going through these, and I have a hard stop this evening, not that I don't like living here, I'm really sorry, I do like it here all the time.
All right, so the next one, Westland Circle Extension. Did not know if I was gonna get this in on time. Council has seen the packet, they have some comments to the planning board, but I do have, something for the select board this evening. Essentially, when, council reviewed the packet, and I don't know, I sent you an email that had council's opinion in it. So when the developer developed these properties on Westland Circle and conveyed out the properties to the new owners, he didn't reserve rights in the road. So, and if we were to take an easement, our easement would be subordinate to the mortgage, and we wouldn't have clear title to the road. So what they are suggesting, what council is suggesting, is that the select board vote to take the road by eminent domain, and they would have, the developer would get the, property owners to hopefully waive any objection to the taking by eminent domain, but it would give the town the cleanest title to the road.
My comment there is, whatever we can do to keep Ali's paperwork straight, we should do, and I think the eminent domain, from reading the opinion, was the cleanest way to do it. I think that's a good idea. I have one more comment on that too, though.
Educate me for a minute. What's the benefit to the town to making this a public way?
So,
Bigger question.
that's a big question.
Different question.
So, the ultimate benefit to the town of taking it as a public way is that, the Crescent Builders cannot go forward with a 40B project that they have proposed, that the select board already has endorsed, until this happens. The homeowners, I think originally when this, Mark or Raj, please feel free to chime in if I get any of this wrong. When this project was developed, it was always anticipated that eventually the town would take this road like any other development. And the developer was just really slow in checking off the boxes to get that to occur. There were two roads that were in the same boat, Newha Circle
Right.
and Westland Circle. We did Newha at the last town meeting. Now it's Westland.
Okay,
The
so,
other half of it was that Westland was not started by Ali and Newha was, so he knew the whole thing when he started. Westland, he bought a permit from somebody who had developed before, so he didn't actually know kind of what was going on when he started his project.
So I do have a question for you, Jen. Based on timing, I'm gonna have to go to vice chair to take over the remainder. I know we're going through the warrants. Are there anything that you need us to vote on the agenda
I need
where
to-
we could wind up in a split vote that we need to
Eminent
prioritize
domain.
first? So,
That's it.
I make a motion to take the Westland Circle as a eminent domain.
do I have a second?
Do what?
Well,
Eminent
Public
domain.
road.
is the motion to include the
Include it on
article?
No, it's
To take
it's
it.
to take it by eminent domain.
I would say take it by eminent domain if they pass the other part.
I think you have to forget about the article for right now. It's just a procedural step to get us towards the article.
If we, what is the effect of this vote? If we take a vote today to take this road by eminent domain,
They're gonna start working on actually doing it and getting it prepared and getting the signatures from the homeowners.
okay, so that it's,
And if
then
we
will
don't-
there be a final vote on it then, or how does it, I just want to know what the procedures are.
Let me go back to my email. Or if somebody else can pull up the bottom of that email. 'Cause
Yeah, I have
think
that
it
e-
just said, please let us know how the
Eminent
select
domain
board
taking, stuff.
wants to proceed.
It was the town council's advice.
Yeah.
I guess I still don't understand the benefit to the town.
Well, the benefit of the town is to accept the road as a public way.
Right, but it seems like it's more of a liability than not.
Yeah, they always, I mean, it's a road in town, you have to maintain it then.
Yeah, we have to maintain it, but if the town does not, if we do not take Westland Circle, that project doesn't move forward. The other,
And the people that are there.
The other 40B project cannot move forward.
Are you talking in general about taking on
Any
roads?
development that, with the exception of like a 55, over 55 community development that's got an HOA, any development that's done in town when a road is built, once the project is done, the town accepts the road.
Presumably.
If it's done properly. If
Yeah.
the
If
road's built to its
But,
standards.
but it sounds like it wasn't done properly.
The road was done
built
properly. The road is, the technical half of it is.
So the other side of this is that planning board has been, I think for 3 years or so, has been going through closing out Westland Circle. And the town's engineer, VHB, is fully engaged on this and has reviewed and will continue to review. If there is a defect in the road,
But that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is it wasn't, the paperwork wasn't done properly. And it may not be Crescent Builders.
but the paperwork about conveying, it's just about how the deeds were conveyed out.
It sounds like somebody else's problem,
It is, and he's solving his problem.
but it sounds like we're solving his problem.
Well, we're telling him to solve his problem.
Okay, the other part of this is that these folks, they won't ever get plowed by the town. Like, they won't ever.
But they thought they were gonna.
Exactly.
Okay,
All right, I guess vote no then.
okay, no, but I just want to understand what it was that I was, okay. Yeah, it sounds like their beef with the builder, that's not
But
us.
the town has, I think, given them a lot of commitment, and the builder, that we will, I mean, these residents go to all of the planning board meetings. The residents and the builder are looking for this procedure to close out.
Because it's the only way they can, because he can't, the builder can't do it on his end, and the owners of the property actually can't do it on theirs.
Correct.
Got it. Okay.
Do we have a second for Raj?
No, we have no
I'll
second.
second it.
All right, any further discussion on this? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
No,
I do like you all. Normally I don't leave, but you are incredible hands with Pat.
She's just mad that I voted no.
Looking for a motion to adjourn?
Joe? You have a few items left, but that's the only vote item, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, I don't
Mark,
need any other votes.
Be nice to Pat.
That'll be nice to add.
All right, now let's get this done in 30 seconds. Okay, the next article.
Watch
The
this.
other thing on that article, the one that we were just talking about, not the eminent domain part, was that it says the town of West Boylston and any drainage will take on the road and any drainage, sewer, water, blah, blah, blah. I think we should make it.
As shown on the plan, though. I know, so
But the
you asked me
plan
that.
shows the whole thing.
So
And
that's
I-
a question not, we talked about this earlier. I will ask legal counsel that question about the drainage, but that's really a technical question for counsel that I'm happy to ask about the
I don't
drainage.
need, it doesn't even need to go on the motion as much as in your, your comments you write up about every motion on the warrant. If the note could just be in there that the town is gonna take over, if they take it, the road with the drainage in the road.
Yes,
The HOA is still gonna be responsible for the other, like the, New West Circle has the same sort of problems.
the retention basins.
The retention basins are their fault, and the things in the road are ours.
All right, next article is, we talked about it at the last couple of meetings. It's the public hearing and public notice bylaw. So I'm just gonna skip over more detail on that one because we've talked about it.
I'd like to amend some language, I'll talk to you about it later.
Okay, great. The next two articles, you'll recall, Jory Schwartz from Weston and Sampson was before this board many times talking about MS4 permitting and the bylaws that we needed to adopt in order to be in compliance. So we have two articles. One is an amendment of our current, and it's long, it's an amendment of our current stormwater bylaw. And the second is a new bylaw dealing with discharges to the drainage system, illicit discharges to the drainage system. We've talked about these a lot. I don't really want to talk about them more this time tonight. Okay. Raj has talked about them even more than I have. So the next articles, okay, is to amend the compensation classification plan in the personnel bylaw. So there's some typos in the personnel bylaw as it exists, so it's to clear up those. But I'm just gonna go through where there's changes. In B, clerk position, that it may be, so let me step aside. We have in the classification and compensation bylaw, department assistant for inspections, department assistant for DPW, department assistant for this, administrative assistant for this department, administrative assistant for that department. An administrative assistant is an administrative assistant. The job descriptions, yes, are different. The job descriptions aren't contained within this. But the classification for administrative assistant is the same. Classification for a department assistant is the same. So to try to make that cleaned up, just saying clerk, maybe general or maybe specific to a department or departments. C, in board secretary, that referred to the board secretary for the ZBA, it's just board secretary. Department assistant, general. Cable access director, there was an old term here of access coordinator. He says that he goes out and nobody knows what he does because it's an old term, and so it's a term change. In E, that changed from administrative assistant to just maybe general. F, that's Ms. Fay, municipal assistant, another one of these old terms that no longer means anything. I hate telling people that she's my municipal assistant because I don't know what it means. Change that to executive assistant. And then adding 2 positions to the compensation classification plan. I want to be absolutely abundantly clear. I am not funding these positions in FY '25. These are to get these on here so that we don't need to wait to town meeting in the future to get them on here. One is a town planner. Two is a finance director. We've talked about town planner a lot, to put it on there. Finance director, Leslie Gerton is retiring in the next couple of years. We putting an option here for a finance director. Doesn't mean we're gonna fund it, doesn't mean we're gonna fill it, it's putting the position on the comp class plan.
We have job descriptions for these?
The personnel board is working on the job descriptions.
What's Leslie now?
Town accountant. Finance director is a different job. It oversees the treasurer, collector, assessor, and accounting departments.
Quick question. How do we grade a position for which we don't have a job description to compare it?
So there is no question in my mind that that's where it goes.
I'm
with
not
the-
debating that point. It's just more housekeeping in terms of, you know,
So they are going to be going through all the, they have time. This is to get it on the warrant.
understood.
You know, they're
Right.
going to be going through that. Actually, they're doing a comp class plan for fall town meeting, a full reevaluation.
My point if there's actually anybody listening, is typically what you do is you take the job description, you compare it against compensable factors and like position, benchmark positions, and then you put it within the salary grade that it seems to fall within. But it's really difficult to do if you don't have a job description that articulates what the compensable factors.
A town planner is a town planner, a finance director is a finance
Understood.
director. We know.
That's why I'm not being hung up on it. I'm just trying to
The other thing that
understand
we.
it myself.
So when we last did the comp class plan, they never included all the language for whatever reason. And so on the suggestions from the Collins Center, it said which grades should be exempt and which grades should not be non-exempt. That didn't make it into the bylaw. So adding the languages back here, grades A through H, this is new, shall be non-exempt, and grades F through H shall be exempt. Then the other thing is, we've talked about this when we talk about contracts for folks, that there are positions that are allowed by statute to be contracted. There are positions that we contract as a matter of practice, but they're not allowed by statute. I'm going to give an example of the DPW director. So this is to say, positions in grade F through H may be compensated outside of the compensation plan through an employment agreement authorized by the select board, or in the case of the library director, the library trustees. This is to marry the bylaw to practice.
Quick question there. Now, somewhat esoteric, I guess, but the Department of Labor is going to, or is expected to release new Fair Labor Standards Act regulations about exempt level threshold for salary. Do these grades comport with that?
I don't know about what the new ones are.
Well, we
But-
don't,
but
but
yeah.
I mean, about
Yes.
in the
yes.
ballpark.
And these are, the grades exempt and non-exempt is taking the recommendation of the UMass Boston Collins Center when they did this for us in 2019. It just never got
Sure.
into this.
No, I understand that, but the salary threshold is going to be roughly
Yep.
40% higher, or it's expected to be roughly 40% higher for exempt classification. And if these thresholds don't match up with that, then we're still stuck with non-exempt regardless.
Okay, well, I haven't seen any.
It was proposed in October. The final regs are due out today, tomorrow,
Okay.
Friday.
All right.
So that may be rendered a moot point.
Okay. We'll take a look at that. Thank you. The next one looks really long, and it's to accomplish something quite simple. If you go to the next chart, where it says temporary or intermittent employees, all these classifications of employees, we either have hired in the past, or we plan to hire in the future, and they don't exist anywhere in the personnel bylaw. And so it's to get their title to exist, and it's seasonal snowplow drivers utilizing town equipment, seasonal laborer, constable, police matron, wiring inspector, including assistant wiring inspector, plumbing and gas inspector, including assistant plumbing and gas inspector. And there was a definition, and this is why it's long, there was a definition of type of employee in the personnel bylaw called a seasonal employee. So it's changing that from seasonal to temporary or intermittent. keeping the definition the same, a person who's employed for a specific and limited period of time, whether that be a day, a week, a month. And then changing that seasonal everywhere else in the bylaw to temporary, intermittent, and it's just to get those, the goal here is to get those titles in the bylaw. And then it says, the hourly compensation for all temporary or intermittent employees shall be set by the select board. Temporary or intermittent employees are paid by the hour and are not entitled to any benefits, sick leave, vacation, personal days, health insurance during the term of employment. Okay?
And they're non-contract?
They're non-contract.
So that one we just did for the person who's gonna work in the building department?
She's a contracted employee. That's something different.
All the benefits exist within that agreement as opposed to,
All right, next is the chicken bylaw.
the chickens.
Now, some of you may argue the override is gonna be the most controversial article, but it may be the
Others may
chickens.
argue this, we don't know.
So,
I don't think so.
I know the hour is getting late. I'm gonna let you all read this. In short, it's that 2 acres or less, there's a bunch of definitions, keep no more than 6 chickens or other poultry, excludes males, capons or roosters, has some cleanliness standards, some minimum standards. We need to have a conversation about whether if you can go above 6 with a license from the Board of Health. If so, the Board of Health hasn't seen this bylaw, has setback requirements from abutting properties and waterways.
Can we make a motion until the chicken bylaw?
To what?
Can we make a motion to include warrant article until
Sure.
the chicken bylaw?
Got a motion?
Yes.
A
Second,
second?
second.
For discussion, penalties for this, it doesn't read right. It says violations of this bylaw shall be punishable by a fine of $50, period, and then a new sentence, each day of
Oh.
prohibited activity.
I didn't finish the sentence.
Yeah, so
Okay.
just fix that.
No, I meant before the chicken bylaw, not including the
Oh.
chicken bylaw.
I wrote up to chicken bylaw.
Before the chicken
Yeah,
bylaw.
up to it.
Up to, before,
Include the articles.
I'm not, you can make that motion, but I don't know, we don't have enough on the Leclerc one.
I thought there was a couple in there that we
Yeah,
weren't on
there's-
for a reason that she wanted, that Christina mentioned.
Yeah, I,
maybe I will withdraw the motion.
Okay.
I will reframe the motion. I'll make a motion up until before the chicken bylaw, whatever the number.
But I thought Christina said she wanted to wait on
Yeah,
that
we're-
because she didn't know what a couple,
The LCD Leclerc,
and the Westland Circle.
Yeah,
and
So
Westland
that's my
Circle.
motion.
zonings.
That's my motion.
okay.
all right, do we have a second on including those?
Do we have a second?
No, because that was, he thought to include the chicken bylaw. He
Oh,
misunderstood.
should we put
No, I
that in there
withdraw
so it
the
doesn't
chicken
ain't for
bylaw.
them?
I withdraw my earlier motion,
Yeah.
and
you
then I
put a
made
new one.
another motion.
To include, what was your second motion?
The
Include up
second
to.
motion is
Up to
up to, before the chicken bylaw, whatever the number,
everything.
Oh.
to include the,
Okay,
except the whatever the 2 bylaws she's mentioning. Christina has a question.
The excluding the home rule petition article and excluding the owner petition article.
okay. Do we have a
That's my-
second?
And Westland Circle, was she concerned with that? I don't know what she was concerned about.
No, it was the owner petition and the,
Good.
I have a motion. Is that
Do we have a second?
Okay, so it's the, all of them except for Westland, no, except for the zoning one out by Marijuana Place, and what other one? Oh, and the one for the police thing, the retired police guy.
the home rule petition. Yep.
And we can come back to those, we can, some other, all right, second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, moving on.
All right.
I'd like, I'll make a motion to accept the keeping of poultry motion,
In the first
provision.
In the-
In the freezer, but
With-
to
with
include it on the
penalties
warrant.
being-
With penalties being $50 a day, with each day being
And
a new-
separate offense.
a separate offense.
Do we have a second?
Sure, I'll do second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, that one's included.
And the last one is the MBTA zoning bylaw. You've referred this back to the planning board for a public hearing already. They're gonna hold their public hearing. My recommendation would be to put it on, but
I'll make a motion to include it in the
Second.
warrant. I think it's, I hate the fact that we have to, but
We have to do that.
Any
We work so
motion-
hard.
motion and a second? Any further discussion?
Is anybody interested in that at all?
No.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, that one's included.
I'm gonna make this the quickest town administrator report ever.
Yes.
Okay. Reminder to folks listening, if they're still listening, the annual town election is on June 4th, 2024, and the last day to obtain nomination papers is coming up, and it's April 11th, 2024. Last week, the town, working alongside with the municipal light plant and specifically John Fitch, we applied for the municipal fiber grant program. The total grant request was $150,000 to interconnect all of our municipal buildings to the fiber backbone that's already in the town. I want to just publicly thank John, who's in Italy right now, for all of his hard work and collaboration on this. He picked up all of the technical components of this application, and even more so, the municipal light plant will be providing $37,800 towards the project as the local match. I think that makes this a really strong application. John has applied in the past with, I think, Nancy on this grant, and he said that just this application is really strong. And so hopefully we'll get a hit on one of these. Transportation Committee, who was newly reformed, actually had their first meeting this week. Excited to see what they're gonna come up with. Thanks for stepping up to serve. And our contract with our contracted assessor expires at the end of the fiscal year. So I have an RFP out to see what we'll get for proposals, and that's due next week.
For the motion to adjourn.
Well, we have a few announcements.
Oh, thank you.
Let me go back to the agenda.
Oh, we have old business?
Yeah, there's old business.
Oh, I
we skipped
skipped.
by.
Oh, my God.
Oh, yeah, we do have old business.
We're gonna run a tight ship.
Consider appropriating ARPA funds for e-permitting software.
My request is for $11,800 in ARPA funds to be used for the startup of the e-permitting software.
So move, second.
Any discussion?
No conditions at all whatsoever involved in this?
Yes.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Consider,
Pass over. He's not
Good.
done.
meetings, invitations, and announcements. There's a free breakfast at the Senior Center sponsored by the Walmart Foundation, April 19th, 2024 at 10 a.m. Seating is limited. Call for reservations, 508-835-6916. The townwide cleanup is on April 27th, 2024, from 10 to 12. Sign up online or get a hold of Christina. She's running it. There is an open meeting law workshop, April 22nd, 2024, at the West Boylston Senior Center at 6 p.m. Any volunteer member of any board is encouraged to attend. Ted Reinstein from Chronicle is at the Senior Center on May 7th, 2024, at 7 p.m. RSVP, same number as before, 508-835-6916. There will be a budget informational public forum before town meeting at a date and time to be determined. The semi-annual town meeting is May 20th, 2024 at 7 p.m. at the middle high school in the auditorium this time, or
That's,
I'm not sure?
I think the Disability Commission wants to weigh in.
Got it. Moving on. Annual town election is June 4th, 2024.
Okay, Pat, did you miss that, or I missed it? Under the old business, consider intra.
Yeah, we
Pass over?
passed over that because it's not ready yet.
Okay.
Future agenda items or select board reports?
I have one report. I have one notice, actually. So I'd like to welcome, this is only tangentially related to West Boylston by virtue of me living here, but I would like to welcome Bridger Thomas Duff, who became New Hampshire's newest resident this morning at 2:12 a.m. He's 8 pounds and 13 ounces, and my first grandchild, so. Welcome, Bridger.
Anybody else?
Top that. Yeah, how are you gonna top that?
I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
You raising your hand, Faye? No, you need me to stop?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.